Hello and welcome to another stream of Frenchman reacts to stuff, or I guess learns about Japan. If you want, we can call it that. But yeah, basically, I've been learning about many topics about Japan for a while now. In those reaction streams, as it's been a lot of fun to learn so much about it, man. I just messed up my intro. That's what happens when I start without thinking what I'm gonna say in advance. What I'm trying to say is that yes, welcome to another Frenchman reacts to videos, specifically about Japan and many topics from Japan. Today is the first one of I guess one of the spin-off, which is gonna be about otaku videos, or anything related to, I mean, otaku can be a lot of things, right? But I think I mean more like the anime, manga, light novel, visual novel, side of things, that side of the otaku thing, because obviously I know, otaku can be train otaku, gun otaku, plain otaku, whatever it is, right? I'm not really referring to that. For me, I'm really thinking of more what we think in the West, so you could say weeb, if you want. But yeah, the idea is that we're gonna check out videos about many topics relating to the field, from anime people, anime history, manga people, manga history, different, internet phenomenon that I might not know about, stuff like that. So yeah, that's really the plan. As always, you can suggest videos and channels, which cover this kind of topic, and I'll take a look and I might add them to later streams. Right now for the stream we only have 2 channels that I found that I didn't know about, because there's already some anime channels that I follow and that I've watched most of their videos, so it wouldn't really work for the stream since I've already seen the videos or I know the topic, right? But yeah, so I found this channel called KYDB, and they seem to have a lot of video about topic that I wouldn't really know, like mascot characters and specific internet otaku things that I might not have been a part of because it's early 2000 or something. And then the other channel is well, actually we have a few channels, yeah, so I'll talk about them when we get to them, if we get to them, because we might not watch everything in my playlist today, only some of them, depending on how much I yap about everything. But yeah, again, any suggestion is very welcome, as it's not that easy to actually find good channels. I could just type anime or manga history, but finding good channels and finding what would be good to watch without being able to pre-watch the video, right? Since I'm keeping them for reaction, it's kind of a challenge. This channel I just found through my recommendation and I thought it looked interesting and all that, right? But yeah, that's really the point. Again, it's gonna be about a lot of topics. There'll be a lot of topic specific stream, pachinko, for example. We watched a few videos recently learning about it, but I'd like to do a deeper deep dive stream about maybe the history of different anime and manga franchise in pachinko, and if there's anything interesting to learn there, etc. We'll do a lot of focus topic, though this one right now is a varied stream where we'll check out videos about any topic relating to this. So obviously, as always, there'll be links in the description with timestamps if you're watching the VOD, links to all the videos, right? Check out the original channel, link to my Discord if you want to follow me, my stream amount, Patreon where you can support me and request reaction, and Discord you can also share links to channels you'd like me to check out. But yeah, don't know if there's too much more to say. I've been looking forward to this. Let's watch it. Actually, I was gonna say in the last few days I was really binge watching a channel on my own, which maybe I should have kept it for this stream, but it's a channel called Steven, and it's an anime channel with a guy who's really good at writing and scripting these videos, and I've been binge watching his channel for the last 3 days. Yeah, he has an in-depth series covering all of Miyazaki's movies, and it's not just a recap of the movie or an essay on the movie like many channels might do. It's really talking about the production, the other people in the studio, the enemy climate at the time, stuff like that. So it's really interesting, and he also has an ongoing, though I guess the last video might have finished it, Mamoru Oishi Mamoru series, the guy behind Ghost in the Shell and Angel Egg and many things. The last video is for Sky Crawlers, which was his last anime movie, so I actually wonder if this series is over now, or if he's gonna cover more of his stuff outside of anime movie. But yeah, this has been a really great channel to watch. It's actually a channel that I watched a video a couple years ago and I don't know why, but I didn't subscribe. And then I just rediscovered this channel recently, and I binge watched the video. They were really great, you know. I don't know if I would say like regret not reacting to them, but I very much recommend this channel. I'll link it. If you want great anime documentary slash essay slash retrospective, yeah. It's a great channel. And if you know any like this, with this level of quality, absolutely tell me about it. Always looking for more, you know. But yeah, anyway, enough talk about all this. Let's get into the videos for today. We'll watch from the oldest from this channel, KYDB. And again, I haven't actually given a try to the channel yet, so I hope the videos are good. You know, the topics seem interesting at the very least for me. So the first one we're watching is she was created to sell air conditioner. It looks like a very moe character. Subtitles maybe? In the late... It was real, I just explained, but it's we're gonna check out videos about any topic relating to Otaku culture, I guess, is what it's about. So English to Japanese, please, in case I have GV viewers as always. Japanese, well. Wait, let me go back. Usually I find it, oh, here we go. I find it right away. That's like my skill, yeah. To what you're doing.
Hitachi, Mitsubishi Electric, and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, alongside the 9 major electric companies of Japan, develop an air conditioner by the name of Eco Ice. This appliance uses electricity at night, when it's cheaper, to create ice at summer or hot water in winter, so it can be used for air conditioning at daytime, helping to stabilize the need of energy production throughout the day for the electric companies, reducing the production of CO2 from fossil fuels, and allowing energy bill reduction for its clients. It's economical, it's ecological, it's Eco Ice. So in 1999, those companies carried out countrywide advertisements for a smaller version of Eco Ice Mini, meant to last from April 1st to the end of August, a duration of 3 months. Each electric company had their own advert that covered the region. Chubu got actors, Chugoku used a 3D penguin, Tokyo and Kansai also used a 3D penguin, but pink.
Why? I mean, I understand penguin, right? Ice, cold, refreshing, I understand that.
Amongst the 9 electric companies, one region did things differently. Tohoku Electric advertisement came in print form. They had pamphlets, flyers, cardboard stands, and they look like this. It featured a girl donning a fur-trimmed dress with long sleeves, a scarf...
Very cute. She looks a bit like that character, or something Doremi? Like a magical girl, I think.
Kittens and a penguin head decorated with a red ribbon, white knee-highs or pantyhose, penguin feet-themed shoes, and she floats on the sky by balloons alongside 2 companion penguins. This is an illustration by Yoshitomo Watanabe, who at the time was releasing the manga Gin no Yusha on the shoujo magazine Rara. And one thing is for sure, she's cute. Too cute. And that cuteness charmed one person that goes by show_taken, who thought it would be a shame if she disappeared when the campaign ended by the end of August. So he took pictures of the pamphlets and posted online on his website named Tohoku Electric Moe Eco Ice, that existed since April 19 days after the campaign started. And so it started spreading. People agreed with Show Taken. This character is too cute, and her popularity just kept growing. There were fan arts and fan sites popping here and there. People found something in this character to rave about, and they wanted to make her known. Up until now, I didn't refer to this character by a name, Because really her only appearances were the pamphlets, posters and
Sure.
cardboard stands. She didn't have a name, and she didn't have any information to her besides her appearance. Most of those things were actually decided by fans online. Eventually a name was given to her by Yoshitomo Watanabe as Aisu-chan, but at that point the name Ekoko had already stuck with fans. According to an online poll with 377 votes, Ekoko-chan was the most popular name with 118 votes. Eko Aisu-chan, written in two different ways, second most popular with 54 and 19 votes.
I think
And of
Ekoko
course there's a
is
lot of
cute
joke
enough.
names. It's an online poll. Third place on the poll with 49 votes, Combat Echiko, which is a reference to Combat Echizen, who is the protagonist of Death Crimson, a famous Sega Saturn game in Japan produced by École. It's because it has Echo
Okay.
on the name.
École means school in French, by the way.
Seventh place with 10 votes, Wasabi-chan.
Okay, because she's green.
Eighth place with 6 votes, Ekojima Heihachi the R. 10th place with 5
She's
votes.
not green, she's blue. Now I'm confused.
Kataoka Michiru, mangaka more well known for Yume no Crayon Okoku. 11th place is just Sunrise Izumo. That's quite literally just the name of a train. It has nothing to do with Echo or Ice. They also seem to have voted for what voice the character would have. The site claims Tange Sakura had a lot of votes. Iwao Junko also got a good amount of votes,
さくらちゃん楽しそうですわ
as well as Konishi Hiroko.
氷って水が凍ってできたもの
Any Lily voice is
But the
perfect.
real first place in both polls that I found was Ginga Banjo.
Perfect.
So
Sing
stands,
Zion.
and so does the campaign and the use of the character. No big surprise, it's pretty safe to assume the character
This is exactly the kind of stuff I'm looking for, yeah, okay. Again, I didn't get to take a look at this channel before, but this is exactly the kind of internet history and otaku history I'm looking for. If you guys know any channel like this, don't hesitate, yeah. This is really funny seeing like the comedy of, 27 years ago internet.
was used to soften the image of the company and the product. Despite the name Echo Ice Mini, these things are big. They're meant for businesses. It's not really something Otaku Online would see the character and want to buy. No real reason to keep her around. But despite her official appearance ending, her popularity just kept growing larger and larger, as shown by the magazine Spa in December 1999, where there was a ranking for the top 10 best hidden characters, where Ekoko placed
South Park?
first. Funny enough, South Park
Wait, the top 10 is Dog-kun, Ganguro Lika-chan, South Park. I mean, I know South Park is weirdly a bit popular in Japan. I know that from Colonel, from Real Life, who is a big fan, reference it, right? And I always thought that was weird because, South Park was popular in France too, right? But South Park is so weird because it's a show that's not only very raunchy, right? But so much of the topic it comments on are like very American-centric. And, when I was young, I enjoyed South Park, but I didn't have any idea of like half of the topic they talked about. I had no freaking clue. And it's only like rewatching later on that I get a lot of the reference, right? So in Japan, I assume it's even worse, right? Japan is known as a country, with very like isolated, I guess, even today. And so I'm surprised that South Park would be popular. Not only is it like so in your face raunchy, but so much of the reference, I don't even know if they would make the news in Japan, so people would be utterly confused, right? I'm always surprised that South Park was big in Japan, yeah. Lovely Remy-chan, Trembling Dog Sanrio, Esse Ino Tarataka, Dejiko Digicharat, I think I know that.
placed 8th. The
Pigari-kun, Ekoko-chan.
interesting thing of this ranking is that in 3rd place was Dejiko from Digikarat. Dejiko is the mascot of the Gamers Store chain, who made her first appearance in
That's what it is.
1998
Stand for Snoopy, yeah.
and was quickly gaining popularity amongst the otaku crowd. It was around the time this ranking was released that the first Digikarat show was airing. Back then, there were people wondering,
I need
is
to watch
Ekoko
that.
a Digikarat character? Adding ko to the end of a name is a common thing in Japan. But when you hear Ekoko, you can't help but also think of Dejiko or Puchiko, another character of the Digikarat franchise. Also considering there were other characters themed around animals in the same show, people didn't felt it was weird that the penguin girl was a character of the franchise. She didn't feel out of place alongside those characters. Even on the previous mention, named Poe, the fourth most voted option was actually Ekokarat. The name Ekoko itself might have been inspired by Digikarat in the first place. Ekoko became connected to Dejiko, sometimes as cute mascot friends, sometimes as foes, due to the idea that Dejiko's popularity was manufactured with corporate backing, and Ekokos only happened due to grassroots efforts. Good example of them being represented as foes is the platforming action game named Ekoko the Fight. On this game, you control Ekoko and her two penguin companions and is confronted by Dejiko, the main antagonist of the game, who came into Ekoko's village to harass her because she was becoming popular lately, and later even kidnaps the penguins of the village because she wanted to make a bunch of money. The group behind the game weren't even sure who to use as a main character, but VoiceOver was what felt like an uprise of characters becoming popular that weren't originally from anime or manga. All it started with Dejiko. They saw the next character that fit the bill to be Ekoko and expected that she would end up making appearances on what would be the litmus test of the popularity of a character. In-person comic markets. This game was made for Comic-Cat, the biggest market of self-published works there is.
When people think of Comic-Cat, they tend to think of like Liu Dojin, that's about it, I think. I mean, at least in the West, I feel like that's, generally kind of like the main thing that people might think when they don't actually know much about it. But the amount of like other stuff, right, from music to all type of like say-so fan stuff is really interesting. And one thing that's especially interesting to me and that hasn't really made it to the West one bit is all those kind of like obscure fan games that were made. And recently I've been seeing a lot more of them. There's a site I go to called CD Romance that has a lot of like ROM and ISO for different games of different like older console, right? And recently I was like in a PS2 section and they had a lot of like Japanese only weird Comic-Cat style game, I guess I would say, right? Some of them looked cheap and not very interesting, but some of them looked like they had some actual ambition and some actual good ideas, right? Of course, they're not translated. Of course, they're like, probably very hard to play with that understanding Japanese, but it's a rabbit hole. I'm sure there's a lot to see.
And there were people who created and sold Ekoko-related magazines and goods. Some cosplayed Ekoko. Someone claimed to have fully sold their Ekoko fans in 15 minutes. The character had popularity outside the online realm. So what would be the next step after appearing in conventions? Her own convention.
Really?
Some guy that I believe goes by Hoi, who previously held a Cardcaptor Sakura and Clump-related event, and probably others beforehand, decided to hold the event called EcoCat, the Ekoko Focus event that will be held twice a year, starting in April 23 of 2000. The first EcoCat had 44 participating circles selling their goods. But the event gathered enough interest that when it opened doors, there was a line of a little over 100 people waiting to get in. I got this information from 3 different blogs. It's nice when that happens. Despite the lowest number of circles on EcoCat 1, consecutive events had higher participants. 56 circles in EcoCat 2, 87.
I did not, from the way he was explaining it so far, I thought it was popular, but not to this level, right? That's kind of insane. That's kind of insane. Because it's different from, a few hundred people voting in an online poll for a name to circles, which is usually a group of multiple people making fan goods and traveling to the location to sell that stuff. I mean, that's a whole different level.
In EcoCat 3, 78 in EcoCat 4. The Ekoko boom is still going well. Now, you look at this poster and you might think, I understand her connection to Dejiko, but what about those other 2 characters? Those are Nin-I, a representative of the desktop mascot software Ukagaka, and Chu Junisai, which is the mascot of a popular website that talk about anime, manga, tokusatsu, and things related. They are not related to Ekoko at all, but they also don't have to be. Because there is a small misconception that EcoCat was only about Ekoko. It was mainly about Ekoko, but it was an event for image characters, mascots. Examples given by the organizers about what could be okay are Ekoko, Dechiko, Denko-chan, the mascot of Tokyo Electric, who also has her good share of popularity, Komu-chan,
sure.
back then the mascot of the website Getchu, Melon-chan, mascot of Melon Books, Koko-chan, one of the mascots of Tora no Ana, etc., etc.
Man, I really know nothing about mascot characters. I mean, that is a rabbit hole that clearly I have not dipped my toe into until now.
But it could be anything the participant wanted, as long as it was a mascot. One person sold books on the Lavender Fairy, the town mascot of Nakafurano, and some other person made a 50-page long book on a humanized version of Cosmo Hoshimaru, the mascot of an expo that happened in Tsukuba in 1985. And I am intrigued by this, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Especially since this is not the only book this person made of this character, and the other book has 116 pages according to Surugaya.
That's
Besides
crazy.
the sale of goods, EcoCat had game tournaments, it had a live recording of an episode of an Ekoko-themed online radio show,
ペイちゃん大変だよ。ついにエココたちメルペンがイベントに参加するんだって。そうや、その名もエコケット7。
and some business talks, such as from Neko no Shippo, Dojinshi printing company that actually came up with her mascot in EcoCat 2. Besides EcoCat, Ekoko also saw good presence in the first few iterations of another event that started a little bit before, Punicat, an event tagline as being focused on Ojamajo Doremi and things that are Puni.
That's Ojamajo Doremi is what I was talking about earlier, yeah.
Even the first poster of the event had two versions. The second one adding a small Ekoko to the cover, as it was around this time her popularity was growing. So the production of fan works kept going steady. Goods, garage kit figures, comics, visual novels, and a few other games that featured her. For example, Magical Heroine Plus, fighting game focused but not limited to magical girls. One of the scenes on the credits is Dechiko abducting Ekoko. Glove and Fight, which was a fighting game featuring several characters from varied sources. If you beat Ekoko with Dechiko, she
kinda
can
nice.
save your characters overlap, and that annoys her. The installation screen as well features a picture of them doing a cross counter. Prime and Prime 2, a
That's
game
not a joke.
with characters based on children's tales, and Ekoko is portraying the little match girl, which is why she holds a huge matchstick and attacks with fire. Based on what I believe is a joke about how after her Tohoku Electric campaign ended, she would end up without work and selling matches in the cold winter. There's also the girl called Black Ekoko, which is Ekoko's friend who's being mind controlled.
It's amazing, like the creativity of Otaku fan base, right? I mean, this all started from a simple illustration on an air conditioning unit, and it's taken such a life of its own, with so much variety, story, and things happening. I mean, I absolutely love that kind of stuff, like the organic development of things like this.
Although not exactly a character, Ekoko is represented as an attack by Kozuki Mio in Eternal Fighter Zero. And on the attack called Costume Little Match Girl, she dresses as Ekoko and attacks with her giant matchstick using fire. And there's even an alternative version of the attack, where she dresses as Black Ekoko and uses her ice scepter to attack with ice.
That's cool.
With presence like this, you would think they would try to make something out of the character officially.
Right.
It turns out there were plans for the character, but not by Tohoku Electric. Their campaign ended and the character was out of her hands. Despite her being known, remembered, and mistakenly attributed as their official mascot, the owner of the character became Hakusensha, the publishing company that employed the illustrator of Ekoko, Yoshitomo Watanabe. There were plans for an official Ekoko, or rather, Aisu-chan picture book. And alongside it, there will be an official fan book featuring doujin artists and would introduce the event EcoCat as well. Yoshitomo Watanabe even provided a special drawing for the first EcoCat. But due to many circumstances that I don't know what they were, none of these became true. But the people behind EcoCat took on their own hands to create their own fan book. Now, there is one figure released at the end of the year 2000 called Pretty Action Figure Aisu-chan, produced by Tora no Ana, made in PVC. If I'm not wrong, this is the only Ekoko related product that can be called official that was ever released.
Okay.
Unless you're talking about the original campaign goods, People sold those online. People sold the flyers in the beginning of 2000 for
Flyers.
3,600 yen. And someone sold the cardboard stand in 2016. It went for 30,000 yen.
I mean,
Lack of
great
official
stuff,
works
huh?
made depictions of Ekoko to be very varied. I've seen stories where Ekoko is trying to sell people air conditioners. I've seen stories where Ekoko is the air conditioner. I've seen stories where Ekoko tries to sell people air conditioners and then turns out that she's the air conditioner. I've seen a story where Ekoko was created to harvest energy for world domination. Lots of times she's a pure girl with no evil in her heart. Other
I mean, obviously it's like a Miku, right? It's a character that, you know, people really get into from the design basically, but there's no real backstory, so you can literally make the character be anything as long as it fits your creativity.
times she's wicked, other times she's just a smug lord. Siblings, enemies, characters are just born at whim to create a story. No name, no setting, Ekoko's a blank slate. You
Yeah.
can create any sort of story with her. But how long can you hold interest with that? How long can you hold interest with just a flyer and a pamphlet? Everything that goes up has to go down. Due to have found a new demanding job, the organizer of EcoCat had a hard time managing later EcoCats. Interest on the event was dwindling as well. EcoCat 7 was a joint event alongside NE4, an Ukagaka-focused event that helped management. It was held on the same venue that saved costs, and their catalog was reversible. One side you had EcoCat, you flipped it, you then had the NE catalog. It also saved costs.
Fair enough.
And so the event was held with 38 circles on the EcoCat
That's what
side,
yeah.
lower than even the first EcoCat. EcoCat 8 had 34 participating circles, but what really makes you feel the impact was EcoCat 9. They had to change venues last minute, and there were 25 participating circles. There were complaints about the number of participants. Someone even suggested canceling the event.
I mean, it's 2004 by this point. Like, this thing has been going on for like 5-6 years, right? You know, all of a single image. I mean, it's a pretty good run of popularity, right? It's frankly not that bad for something so organic, you know? I think everything runs its course eventually, and this is a good run by any means.
There were complaints that circles weren't receiving the things necessary for the event. Feedback was low, the organizer had no time to. And so, it was about time to end it all. And in November 3rd, 2004, EcoCat 10 Final occurred with 31 participating circles. Despite the tribulations towards the end, the organizer was well received in his event, and said that the big objective of making image characters, starting with Ekoko, more widely known, was achieved, and so EcoCat and his works on hosting events had been retired.
Great story.
Now, that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, does it not? That the event for this character ran for 10 iterations sounds noteworthy, but it only makes sense that it couldn't go away on a high note. It's kind of a downer. But there is one thing. On his last message on the EcoCat website, the organizer used his real name, and I could not help but to try to find out what happened to him. And this is him. And below him is the man known as Beat Mario, famous
Beat
Toho
Mario.
music producer and VTuber. He loves his wife very much. And above him is Ota
Zung.
Junya, also known as Zung, the creator of Toho Project.
Okay.
And to his side are Shirakami Fubuki and Hosho Mari.
I've seen this interview before, actually. Damn, okay. Everything comes full circle. What a twist. What a twist. I have seen this interview, and obviously I didn't know this guy, right? I knew Zone and Beat Mario, but okay. Alright then.
Virtual YouTubers of Hololive Productions. And the reason this man is here is because this was during the global epidemic of 2020, and he's talking about the state of the event he helps to hold as the representative of the Hakurei Jinja Shamusho.
Oh, so he became like a Toho event hoster?
The group that holds the Hakurei
Oh,
Jinja
Reitaisai.
Reitaisai,
Okay.
the biggest Toho related event there is.
So things worked out for him, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's cool.
Things do work out, don't they? He's still working on events and it's goddamn Reitaisai. So on that side, it feels like things ended up really well. On the side of
What a
Ekoko,
twist.
though, turns out that EcoCat 10 Final wasn't the final EcoCat.
Of course.
Kind of. Tokyo Metropolitan Industrial Trade Center Hamamatsucho, shortened to Tosambo, was to be demolished. It was the building where most of EcoCats and a lot of other events was held, so as a goodbye for the building, the event Tosambo Final was held in 2015, 11 years after the last EcoCat, to celebrate those past events. Maybe you can't really call it an EcoCat, but I think it's a more preferable and even a lovely send-off to it. Now, where does that leave us? Showtaken, when making his website, simply wanted his character to not disappear. Hoi wanted to further spread the image of the character, and I think both efforts worked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she's still popular today, like, not massively, right? But especially these days where, you know, the amount of artists only grows by and people making fan art only grows bigger, right? No doubt there's ton of art of her, yeah.
25 years after the initial campaign, there are still people drawing Ekoko. There are still people talking about Ekoko. This video is proof of it. At this point, she can't disappear. Even if as a character that can be described as nostalgic or of a past era, and not really talk about much anymore, people will recognize her, and if not, it's not hard to learn who she is. The girl who once was the mascot of a 3-month-long campaign by a major electric company created to help sell air conditioners, who exploded in popularity throughout the power of the internet because she was just too cute. And now that I'm mentioning mascots, apparently Tohoku Electric do have a mascot they use nowadays. It looks like this.
Oof.
It's a duck.
Oof.
Hey,
Big
thanks
oof.
for watching. If you liked this video, good. If you didn't like it, go find something better to watch.
It's a great video. Where's the
Some
rest?
time to the video left is because I want to talk about some stuff that I didn't find a place to fit on the middle of the video. Number one, I think the most impressive piece of Ekoko fan work there is the video called Aisu-chan PV Dunk. It uses Ekoko's theme in Glove and Fight to create a fake anime opening, and it's interesting because there used to be small hoaxes about Ekoko getting some sort of animated adaptation, and this feels like the closest thing we ever get to that.
It looks really
It's
good. Huh?
incredible. I saw claims that there's around 2,800 drawings composing the whole thing, and it's criminal for two reasons. It has 23,000 views on Nico Nico.
There's a very animated.
12 years.
I mean, for comparison, like a normal anime episode, you know, normally animated, right? It's like 3,500 drawings.
On YouTube Reupload got 9,006. It actually makes me a bit mad. From what I understand, there was no genre set on the video, so it couldn't appear on any ranks, and because of that, it got buried. Which brings me to the second reason why this makes me mad. The creator doesn't seem to mind it was buried, because nobody knows who made this. On the very beginning, there are a few names, but there are people who made a song for Glove and Fight, Dunk. Nobody knows who made this animation. And it makes me even more mad that the channel who uploaded this is just called Chargeman Ken. There's 2 videos on this channel, and the other one is a 1-second long video referencing a line in Chargeman Ken.
Okay.
Someone just dropped what maybe a years long of a side project work and disappeared without claiming it. Did they just did it for the love of the character?
Insane internet history.
Did they start making this when the character's booming and the boom ended midway through, but it was a waste to not finish it? Did they do this for practice purposes? I don't know. And I don't think anyone knows but the people behind this.
Yeah.
And number 2, apparently Ekoko also has some popularity in Korea. I read in a website called NamuWiki that Ekoko the Fight is spread throughout Korea on elementary school computer labs. I also found 2 different Korean artists who made Ekoko fan art on the early 2000s.
Good.
Also, there was someone from Taiwan who was looking to buy Ekoko the Fight back then. And even an American Ekoko fan site from 2003. Apparently, the owner of the website dresses Ekoko for an event and got the offer of Trigun to ask where the hell did she learn about Ekoko. The internet is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Number 3, there was another event called EcoCat, but it was an event on the MMORPG Emu Chronicle Online. which had its first iteration 2 years after the EcoCat closed. This is interesting to me because it's just loosely connected to this video. Emil Chronicle Online is a joint collaboration between Headlock, Gung-Ho, and Broccoli. Broccoli being the company that owns Gamers, and thus the company behind Dejiko. That game had a ton of collaborations thanks to that, but what matters is Dejiko. I think if you bought a beginner's package in a real gamer store, you could redeem Digikarat clothing in an...
Damn, I need to find videos about the history of some of those obscure Japanese MMO from the early 2000s. They all seem so interesting, but I have so little context on them.
In-game gamer store. None of that has anything to do with Ekoko. I just kind of find it funny that it feels like Dejiko swiped the terms Echo and EcoCat for herself. Number 4, this video made me aware on how incredibly interconnected these events were. They would go to events to advertise theirs, who would advertise on theirs as well. Organizers of one event would help on others and vice versa. In hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. But seeing the EcoCat organizers recruiting people to give out flyers on a Ragnarok online event was when I noticed it was probably less about separate fan bases and their events, and more about the otaku sphere in general.
Sure, it's a very cooperative sphere.
But I might be wrong. I'll learn better eventually. I just thought it was interesting. Number 5, I found another game with Ekoko. It's called I My Me, also called My Girl's Revolution, I think. It's the sequel to another game from Free, and Ekoko appears in both. On this game, she has a hammer, and I really like that. The hammer is 30 kilos.
Okay.
Anyways,
Great.
I'm going to be making videos on whatever interests me. It might be characters, it might be something else, it might be long videos, it might be shorts.
Alright. Okay. Genuinely super interesting. I'm glad this is a good channel. As I said, like, I can't pre-watch videos, so I just have to pray that it's a good channel. And, you know, the topic makes you think that the channel is going to be good. It's a good one. The amount of research you must have done to find all this and to put together like a picture of this whole story must have been quite something. But yeah, very interesting. Yeah, exactly the kind of video I'm looking for. Just very, very interesting. I just love this kind of organic thing when it happens, right? I wonder how the original designer feels about it, right? Like he was a mangaka, right? And maybe that's not the case, but I assume like this piece of art, this single design, ended up becoming like more popular than his actual mangas, probably. Which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Like it's a single piece of art that he drew compared to like maybe many chapters of manga, right? And yet this is the one thing that will really maybe cement this author's legacy, right? Creating this cute mascot character for like an air conditioning company, and that's it. It's really interesting how things go sometimes. And then again, loving to witness the good side of the internet, right? Just the organic way everybody gets passionate about something and all of the fun stuff that gets made about it. It's awesome. It's really the kind of stuff I love. Awesome video. Okay, and again, this is such a, ultra-centric Japanese topic that, you don't find much info online in the West. So a video like this is such a great way to preserve the history, I feel like. And yeah, it seems to have quite a video about stuff like this, like Mascot and all that. So yeah, let's watch more video from this great channel. And I should sub. The next one is, she was never meant to be found by the Otaku. What does it mean?
February 26, 2008. This video that was uploaded just 15 days prior hit the top ranking on Nico Nico Douga. And this clip made this girl go viral.
Atena Ferry.
This is Hatena Yosei, a name that translates to the question mark fairy. And the question is, was the question mark fairy made popular just because of a clip? Is it simply because she's cute? That is a big part as to why she became popular.
Of course,
it is
it's always the case.
More complex than that. To understand her popularity, first we have to talk about Benesse. Benesse is a Japanese company that focuses on education programs. Their two most popular programs being the correspondence courses Kodomo Challenge for kindergartners and Shinkenzemi, which covers elementary, middle, and high school. And they go by the name Charenji and Challenge. And what does that mean? Correct, it means they have money, they have a lot of money, they have insane amounts of money. For you to understand how much money they have, in 2016 they had 2.43 million people taking these courses. That is about 2% of the population of the country, and if you take out the adults and the elderly, that would make about 10% of kids between 0 to 19 years old taking part in these courses.
So it's supplemental to like school, basically. It's like a side thing that as a parent you buy for your kid to give them even more homework and just kill them from overwork, basically. Right?
And that's when they were on a decline, because in 2004 they had 4 million clients. If this tiger seems familiar to you, this is their mascot. This face makes a lot of money. So what does it matter that they have money? Well, to make money, you need to use money. Benesse spends over 25 billion yen a year on sending mail advertisement, the highest of any Japanese company. And half of that is for Shinkenzemi challenge courses. Of course, if you just send people mail, they get tired of it and just throw it away without opening it. So they started putting advertisement manga about taking the Shinkenzemi courses.
Wow.
And other times, even animated DVDs. And now you're starting to see where I'm heading to. The name of the video posted on Nico Nico Doga is I found a Moe character in an elementary first year challenge DVD. Now you're starting to understand why this was a little bit more special. Because this was an anime advertising their course that the target audience was quite literally, and I mean quite literally, 6-year-olds that were just about to get into elementary school. It's like, from that clip, people found treasure from the last place one would ever expect it. Before I talk about the reaction
I mean, yes and no, there's a lot of like Moe character for like children anime. It's not anything new, I feel like. It's not because it's a kid anime that there isn't Moe character.
I'll go through the contents of the DVD real quick, just so you understand better what we're dealing with. The anime name is The Transformation of Yuki into a Cool First Year. Nakama Yuki is a kindergartner who is excited to become a first year in elementary school, but is worried if he can really become a cool first year. He is visited by the Shinkenzemi elementary school course mascot Korasho, who is the Randoseru fairy. Korasho invites Yuki to go for an elementary school test trial. It uses his power to give life to things to take him there. And to show how fun elementary school is, they immediately have physical education and a sports festival. Then they get inside to have class and they just hop around a bit to the song. And then they immediately have physical education again, except now indoors. And then they're served lunch and the test trial is over. Wasn't school fun? You got to do a lot of physical education. The school itself gives you
How does that sell you on like supplemental books?
a series of 4 trials about how to become a cool first year. The first trial is given by the big clock, and the objective is to get to school on time. And to help with that, of course, Yuki uses Shinkenzemi's elementary course Korasho clock that talks. If you join the Shinkenzemi, you as well can get one of these. Yuki completes that trial, and so he enters the school to face the second one. And this is the big point of interest for this video. They are faced with the void filled with question marks that turn into Yuki's possessions.
だから君たちは僕のものって本当にわかるのかな。ただ似てるだけで君のものじゃないかもしれないよ。
The issue is that his
And here she
name
comes.
might be someone else's and they just look alike. The solution is simply to put your name on those things by the means of a name label which you can get specifically with your name on if you join the Shinkenzemi.
すごいじゃない。自分の持ち物がちゃんとわかるようにできたわね。かっこいい1年生になるための2つ目の冒険もバッチリクリア。やったー！
And with that, they leave the room behind for the third trial given by
Even
the
get some
Chalkman.
proposed to you.
I like this trial. The first trial was like, you have to come on time, otherwise you won't be able to get in. Oh no, how sad. The second one was like, you have to put your name on your possessions, otherwise you won't know if it's yours. Oh no, how inconvenient. Chalkman is like,
you have to know how to write your name in proper stroke order, otherwise I'm going to kill you.
も間違えたら床がなくなって下へストンってなことになっちまう。
But Yuki completes the task because he has been practicing with the Shinkenzemi's stroke order machine great, which you can
this
obtain
kind
by
of thing.
joining the Shinkenzemi. They use a lot of runtime for this advert. You just know this is the thing they thought would get the attention of the kids the most. They made a
I had
steady
something like that when I was young. Like it was like this rectangular thing that you had some kind of like, you know, digital pen for, right? And it had this very weird texture, and it was kind of digital, but you know, with like terrible backlight and black, white, and gray, I guess, if you will. And you could draw on it, but again, without colors, it was just like you could draw right on it. I guess it's kind of like a blackboard thing, maybe. But again, when you would run your stilet or whatever, it would be a very weird feeling, and the way the line would be very like, I mean, kind of like they showed, right? It was like this, you know, with this little digital square way of doing it. It was very weird. I remember having that. I don't remember why I had that. I don't think I ever really used it for anything, but I had that.
No, this is the thing they thought would get the attention of the kids the most. They made a stadium to advertise this. Suddenly there's 3D models and visual effects, all because it has a shitty Tori mode as well. Yuki completes the trial, and for the last challenge, they're on a desert, a castle comes out of it, and then a robot comes out of the castle.
Okay.
The last challenge is a counting challenge. If you
Yeah.
can't count to 10, you cannot become a cool first year. Yuki has no confidence in math, but Yuki can practice counting with the math machine great, which can obtain by joining the Shinkenzemi. And I guess using this is better than counting literally anything else, because this machine goes ping pong when you get the answer right. The robot starts leaving while Yuki is practicing, but Korasho tries to stop it, and then every other taskmaster comes to also help. Yuki takes on the trial and completes it. Yay! He now knows how to become a cool first year. But he has yet lots to learn. But no worries though, because there are lots of explanations on how to become a cool first year if you join the Shinkenzemi's first year challenge course. And that was how the anime goes. One last thing of note
I mean, if I was 6, this is pretty cool.
is that another reason as to why this got the people's interest was because the choice of voice actors was extravagant. Korasho is voiced by Otaku.
I was about to say, like, they all sound very professional. Here we go. I'm not surprised. They sound like voice I've heard before. Chopin.
Ikue. Nakama Yuki is voiced by Takayama
Conan.
Minami. Hatena Yosei herself was voiced by Toyoguchi.
Wow. That's a crazy choice. I'm always crazy about, like, our range. I mean, she's freaking Wavy from Black Lagoon, right? Like, cool style of voice. But then she does Loli style character too. She's insane.
Megumi. Chalkman is Watanabe Kumiko. The math robot is Nakata Joji.
Bruh. Kutomine Kirei, really?
It's a wild lineup for a kid's advertisement DVD.
Yeah.
The biggest reason for the proliferation of the character was the appearance of several threads on the text board, Nichannel, as soon
course,
as
it's on
that video
Nichannel.
got on the top ranking, mainly on the YouTube board, which focuses on video sharing services. The threads were going at really high speed. On its first 24 hours, users went through 6 threads, which is about 6,000 messages. From the very beginning, many of those messages were posting arts and edits, with over 400 of these posted on the very first day. And this explosion wasn't only on these threads. A little after 2 hours, the first thread was created. Someone said, "There's already 4 drawings of Pixiv, lol," noting how fast people were about making art of Hatena Yosei. About 22 hours later, someone noted that there were 57 drawings, and 5 hours after that comment, someone noted that the Hatena Yosei tag on Pixiv had passed 100 drawings, not even 3 days after that first thread was born.
It is crazy speed. I mean, this was all 18 years ago, right? I mean, that is crazy speed.
The tag had over 300 drawings in it, and not even 4 days after, it had 400. ASCII art started appearing. Anyways, people on this thread like thanks, right? Of course, my brother! Some people noticed that
go.
she looked like Misao from Lucky Star. There were
Thanks are the best.
5 threads going at the same time in different boards. Some people couldn't sleep because we were enjoying the thread too much. And there were a lot of people looking forward to summer with the expectation that doujinshi would come out. And
Wait.
that doujinshi would come.
Has anyone drew an Edo Dojin where you stick your name, seal on her, and go kissy yet? Wow. That's a peak command. Alright.
Come out. And just so you understand the vibe of these threads, from the very get-go, the 10th post of the first thread was a lewd drawing. I think it's safe to say, at the very least, half of the drawings were not safe for work. Just so we are on the same page, just so we understand what was going on those threads, I'm going to sleep soon, but I have one last thing to say. Hatena Yosei is my little sister. Good night, brother-in-law. What are you saying? She's my older sister. Aren't you guys confusing her with my wife? She's my niece.
No, wait just a minute. She's my master.
The biggest joke related to Hatena Yosei was that people were reading Hatena as Haitenai. Hatena being question mark, and Haitenai being a negative form of Haku, to wear something by passing it through your legs. It could be pants, but what is referred to here is exactly what I think it is. So while people were having a lot of fun on those threads, someone draw Hatena Yosei in a school swimsuit. Someone draw Hatena Yosei as if she was in an eroge. Want someone draw Hatena Yosei pissing herself? A little bit too much fun. Another interesting thing started happening. From the very first thread, someone noted, if there is a question mark fairy, there must be an exclamation mark fairy. And people started drawing it and creating settings for the character. She is now Hirameki Yosei, Hatena Yosei's older sister. Her design differs by artist, but the defining factor is that she's blue. And that was fun, but on a later thread, someone asked, why doesn't Benesse send a deletion request for the video on Nico Nico? But this poster wrote request as fairy, as both have the same pronunciation, and thus Sakujo Yosei, the deletion fairy, and Hatena Yosei.
This is peak organic, propagation once again. It's so freaking stupid, but it's hilarious. Damn. I mean, love it.
Yosei's rival was created. On the exact same thread, someone made a joke about Sakujo Yosei correcting the kanji drill exercises of another poster, but kanji wasn't written as the writing system kanji. It was written as the word for feeling. So Sakujo Yosei was correcting their feeling drill. And somehow that also led to the birth of the character kanji drill. If there is an exclamation mark, then there must be a Hanamaru mark, which is a mark teachers write on kids' desks for doing a good job. And thus another fairy was born. At one point, people started getting a little bit too cute and learned how to request Benesse, the challenge first year DVDs. And people were getting them. Someone asked for a DVD putting their child's name as Yosei. From people requesting the material, the wordplay material request, read as Shiryo Yosei, came up. Instead of material, Shiryo was read as
everything can end up as Yosei.
Ghost. Instead of request, Yosei was read as fairy. And so someone posted art of it.
Wow.
But then other people posted actual drawings and the ghost fairy was born. These characters started coming out and people were giving them settings. From what started with a side character from an advertisement DVD, eventually became something akin to an actual community created magical girl show setting. And here's the elephant in the room. What?
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
What the hell is Ito Makoto from School Days doing here? From the very beginning, people noted that Nakama Yuki looked a lot like a younger version.
That is still one of the big gaps in my otaku knowledge. I know the jokes, but I still have never watched School Days. It's like, I know the jokes, I understand what happens. I just need to experience it first time. I still haven't.
Of Ito Makoto, which led to people shitposting with ASCII art of Makoto and getting a reaction telling Makoto to die. And he just became a staple on these threads. And outside of these threads, eventually the 2008 Anime Saimoe tournament happened, an online popularity contest to decide the most moe character of the year. Hatena Yosei had a good run, where she got a top 32 position out of 2,423 characters, losing to the semi-finalist Furukawa Nagisa. And she also appeared in the 2010...
Ouais, il aime les sketchs. Salty, Stars le Sun, Durara, yeah. Athena Tennosu.
in Saimoe tournament, but lost in the first round to Hiro from Hidamari Sketch. And I just gotta say, tough bracket. But well, it is unsurprising that she couldn't go through, because everything that goes up has to go down, and so did her popularity eventually.
Sure.
Naturally, things slowed down and people lost interest for the most part. It seems that Benesse took notice that some grown-up friends were having a little bit too much fun, unsurprising considering they had a very sudden rise in DVD requests. About 3 months after the original video was sent, it was taken down by Benesse, alongside numerous other Hatena Yosei related videos on Nico Nico Doga and on YouTube. I found a playlist of 60 videos related to Hatena Yosei, and only one remains. The original clip had 180,000 views, and a higher quality reupload of it.
As always, that's one of the downfall of the internet. I mean, no matter how many times some people will say that, once you post something, it's always there, right? It's kind of like something that some people would call a bit out of touch, right? Like a parent will tell their kid, which, it's a good lesson about personal stuff, but it's not actually true. We've seen it so many times, so much less media on the internet. True event like this,
Had 220,000 by the time of deletion. Benesse made a second version of the anime episode to showcase the new version of her toys, or their study materials, and they decided that on this version they had to defang Hatena Yosei of her otaku appeal. As in, quite literally, they took her fang out. It is interesting that they...
I mean, she's still cute, but did they really think that was the only thing? Like, otaku are only about fangs. Like, that's all they care about, fangs. I mean, I am a fang man myself. Single fang, skin fang, double fang. I love it. But, that's not the only thing that makes her cute.
understood how much impact that little triangle has on people. They also replaced her skirt with briefs, with the same objective of lowering her appeal, but people also had...
I mean, she's so cute.
Some fun with that, using it as evidence that she really wasn't wearing it. She did appear once again in another promotional DVD later. She comes back with Chalkman to give this kid a quiz.
Tonight?
Even she goes ping pong when he gets the answer right. After that though, she made no appearances on any materials anymore. She wasn't even part of the actual study materials in the first place. Just a character in these promotional DVDs. But on later DVDs that came out in 2013, there are other characters that people took as
So is there no credits to who did the design in that animation?
spiritual successors to Hatena Yosei, one of them being Kotoba Princess, the word princess. She also goes ping pong.
君も言葉チャンピオンを目指そう
She gives out the second challenge. She is pink and similar to Hatena Yosei. She has question mark earrings and
But
gives
the design is a bit more generic.
support on the final challenge, which is given by a giant robot that can count to 10. She didn't get nearly as much attention, and I would think Benesse would try to distance themselves as much as possible from Hatena Yosei after all that, but I guess we just didn't really care that much. Now, at this point, Hatena Yosei is a character that managed to place her name seal in internet history. And although her peak popularity is long gone, she is still remembered and is apparently still looked fondly by some people.
Sure.
I myself kept seeing this character throughout the years. Oh, there she is again, the question mark girl. There was just something about this design that was just so memorable. Probably the question mark. I always thought she was from a quiz show or quiz game and was
It's a
always
review version.
curious as to why she kept coming up again and again, and I finally quenched my curiosity. And it's mostly thanks to a website called Hatena Park. It was created in 2009 and is still up to this day. It's an archive for the big majority of things that happen on those neat channel YouTube board threads. They saved over 3,000 images, all of them relating to the culture born within those threads. and I'm almost sure there were more images that couldn't be saved, but
Sure.
it is easily enough to get an idea of the passion that surrounded those threads at the time. But honestly, looking back now, it really feels like a you had to be there kind of thing. It's fun to see that people had fun, but not being able to take part in the fun, it's not so fun. But ultimately,
I like knowing about
what
it.
matters is that people had a lot of fun. And to think this all happened to a character with not even 2 minutes of screen time from a DVD the people excited about the character weren't even supposed
so
to have
specific.
watched. I like when something like this happens. And I think this video is over. Not much more to say.
Great. Okay, again, absolute peak organic internet propagation, right? You know, the only thing missing from this video is, again, original artists. We did the original car design. Like, I'm very interested in that. But I guess it's not known, maybe. Like, it's a standard design, but also a generic one in some way, right? So, it's probably hard to guess. Yeah. It's great. Just like the first video, I just love how this all happened, right? I mean, you know, there's been like, I can't think of too many top of my head, but, you know, in the last 10 years or so that I've been somewhat around the community, though I've never been someone to like post stuff in forums or anything, right? We've seen stuff like that happen, right? Some trend of like an unexpected character. I don't even remember the origin, but for example, like years ago there was Earth-chan, where everybody would make like an anime girl version of Earth and maybe eventually other planets, right? I don't even remember like how it started, but you know, there's always like stuff like this that just kind of happen organically, and it's pretty great. It's a lot of fun to see. Something I enjoy a lot. Yeah. Okay, well, great video, but we've got more of the same subject. Next is the history of the NHK Weather Girl mascot. Alright then. Alright, more mascot car.
In early 2009 Japan, if you tune your television to channel 1, NHK General TV, at 9 p.m., you would be faced with the show News Watch 9. And in the weather segment of this show, you would be able to see this character. This is Haru-chan, a personification of spring, and today I'll be talking about her.
Okay.
Everything started when Nobuyuki Hirai, the weathercaster of the show, was thinking how to make things more approachable. Because of the time slot it airs, there was a good chance that the whole family, including the children, would be watching. So he thought that having a character would make things easier to understand and more fun to watch. And so he created the bright Haru-chan. This is how she looks like when he plans the show, by the way. Haru-chan then started appearing on the weather segment right on the beginning of spring, alongside a previously established character, General Winter, who has been appearing for many years on the channel. And honestly, I see his point. It is much more
Is that where it's from? I wonder where it came, the Fuyu Shogun concept. I first learned about it from Konosuba.
interesting to watch the weather if you get to see General Winter destroying Haru-chan as if she was a member of Napoleon's great army. And she kept on appearing, helping to convey the weather and just making things more fun to watch. And very soon, another character joined the party. Summer arrives, and so does General Summer. It makes sense. If there is a General Winter, there must be a General Summer. And soon enough, as the days passed by, other characters started appearing as well. This time it was Tsuyo-kun, who represents the rainy season, and Konatsu, who represents the early summer. What you need to know about Tsuyo-kun is that he never appears ever again. He is probably dead. Konatsu got a bit popular with certain kind of people. Hey, but didn't appear much afterwards, although she did get to appear at the very least. But this also tells you something. They were willing to expand the cast. After winter comes spring, after spring comes summer, and after summer arrives the gentle yet old-fashioned Aki-chan, the personification of
nice
autumn.
design.
They now have enough people to make up a band. Tsuyo-kun does not count because he's dead. Now you see this drawing, and it makes you think, oh, where's fan art? Yes. Outside the TV screen, Haru-chan is getting some attention. People noted the unusual nature of the serious NHK using a moe character,
Right.
and she was starting to get a bit of online popularity. People particularly noted how she looked
Your
like.
TV fees. We had watched a video once about the NHK. Like, you know, the NHK, not the best reputation. Like, they are not very liked in the West. You know, if you use footage from them, they copyright strike very easily, right? And then in Japan, they had the tax collection fee for like the TV fee, where, you know, anyone in Japan had to pay them the TV fee, basically, even if you didn't watch TV. And they had like notorious, you know, TV fee collectors, you know, people who would come to your house and harass you until you paid them, basically. And we watched a video where like this one guy was really mad at that, and he created like a political party called Destroy the NHK, and, you know, that became a whole thing because that guy was kind of insane and did a bunch of other insane stuff. But yeah, it's a whole other story.
And Yukuri. And as she kept appearing more and more, eventually she got her own corner on the Newswatch 9 website, which also started hosting Haru-chan webcomics drawn by Muramasa Mikado. And she's so cute on these comics, goddamn! It's surprisingly pretty mundane. It's pretty much Haru-chan, Aki-chan, and the two generals' everyday life. But I'm particularly very fond of
Just a
manga
slice of
like
life.
this. Thank you, NHK. I'm learning a lot about the weather. Spring is such a nice season. It feels they started to note the popularity this character was getting towards a different kind of public. Aoshima showcased a prototype of a Haru-chan and General Winter plushie in July 2010.
Actually, kind of nice to see that they're capitalizing. So far, we haven't really seen that, right? You know, actually, but at the same time, there's a potential reverse effect of capitalizing on it, is that it might kill the interest when it becomes too cynical or corporate, right?
Good Smile Company showcased a Haru-chan Nendoroid in a Wonder Festival also in July 2010. And officially sanctioned Haru-chan goods came out in Comiket 78 alongside a character guidebook featuring several established artists. On August 2010,
Well, very
and
nice.
more goods and books released in Comiket 79 in December of 2010. It feels like NHK has seen value in marketing this character. With the
Smart.
end of 2010, the comic artist was replaced. He drew comics for a year on the dot, and it finished in a way it feels it was planned like this. The next person who took over was Kizuki Miki. They're also cute as hell, but I couldn't find almost any of her comics. But there weren't many in the first place. It seems when Newswatch 9 restructured and had a change in personnel that ended with Nobuyuki Hirai going to another NHK news show, as well as the Tohoku earthquake of 311 having just happened. So
Yeah.
it seems NHK decided to not use the character as it would not be appropriate, and so Haru-chan stopped appearing on TV.
Always a double thing, right? Like for me, I'd rather you try to lighten things a little bit. I'm not saying make jokes about it, but, you know, it's probably a very sad time for everybody, so a bit of, you know, cuteness from a moe character would be appreciated.
A Twitter account for her was opened though, and it quickly garnered a good following. So at the very least, it didn't seem they would discard her. The comics restarted as well, except this time the artist changed once again, now drawn by the same artist as the one on the TV version, Fukuyama Chihiro. Quick, bring out Haru-chan! If you don't, it will soon be General Summer's time to come out! I wonder if she won't be appearing on Newswatch 9 anymore.
This is the way to save TV, you know, the TV industry is dying, right? This is the way to save it. I mean, right now it's still gonna do fine for a bit when there's still like older people to watch it who grew up with it, but soon what you need is moe. Add a lot of moe character to anything. You might get young people to watch.
Hey, NHK, just bring Haru-chan back on TV already. You guys doing sports show going woo woo. It's not like you're self-restraining anymore. Did the last Fred really die without Haru-chan coming back even once? That was a 2-month-long thread with no Haru-chan in sight. Well, she appeared again the day after that comment.
気象情報です。はるちゃん、
は
久しぶり。
She's actually voiced.
ーい、井田さん、今日は気持ちいいお天気だった。
Yes, after her short hibernation and even with her original creator gone, she
And
came back
animated.
powered up, being able to move and talk. And she has a lovely voice, but who is behind that voice?
Sounds
Yeah,
familiar?
remember that fan art from 2009 shown before, the K-On! one?
It's a Korean voice actress?
That thing was a little bit of a prophecy because the voice actress for Haru-chan became Toyosaki Aki, who was just fresh of a Seiyu award for playing Hirasawa Yui
Oh, she's
in
Yui, okay.
K-On!
Okay,
And so things got back in business. Haru-chan was back on TV, back
Man, things are really working out great. I mean, again, I respect the way they're capitalizing on this. I mean, you know, smart.
on the weather show, and sometimes even outside of the weather show.
ふなっしーさんです。失礼しますなっしー。NHK なっしー。嬉しいなっしー。
Well, with that settled, I'll talk about the new comics. Although visually I preferred the previous ones, these comics feel much more appropriate. The first series of comics felt like two normal girls and two supernatural old men doing mundane stuff. There they are driving a car, there they are planting rice by hand, there she is saying 10 centimeters might not seem like too much. This series of comics feel like their personal
Unfortunate.
of the weather. They have weather powers, talk about weather
She's a science queen, I
much
guess.
more. They ride clouds. General Summer rides a motorcycle cloud, and it's awesome. Also, he's hot. General Winter is also hot. And at the end of every comic, there's explanations of weather-related phenomenons. It's a pretty fun comic. Eventually, it also started adding new characters, such as Akibare-chan, a character that represents a clean autumn weather, and this goddamn old man cannot calm down when seeing her. Wow. And eventually, she also appeared on the weather show on TV. Konatsu as well got a cameo, first time in a good while. New characters kept appearing, such as Kagero-kun, who represents a heat haze. And what you need to know about Kagero-kun is that he never appears ever again, he is probably dead.
Another one.
Kun is a boy that represents mist. He appears sometimes in the comics, although not in the TV show. He also got a father that represents fog, and you can, but also cannot see him because he is quite literally the fog. So they're expanding their cast
Great.
once again. And a big one came when Haru wanted Summer to return, and General Summer didn't felt like it, so he sent someone else.
Okay.
This is Natsu-chan. They decided to have a cute girl version of Summer, probably to contrast the strong image General Summer had. Just as she appeared on the comics, she started appearing on the weather segment of Newswatch 9. She has a bright personality, somewhat similar to Haru-chan,
Genki girl.
but it's more boyish and better at sports. But now you're thinking, so they turned Summer as well into a cute girl. They also have Autumn and Spring.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do. Just make it all moe and illegal, you know?
So logically, after spring comes summer, after summer comes autumn, and of course, after autumn comes...
Oh,
Oh my
Raja-sama, let's go.
queen! So winter is here, and they made her a character that speaks like... あなた、私に話しかけないでくれませんかしら? なんですって? やりましたわね。許しま
That's
せん
good at making voice.
Yeah, something like that. Sorry, I got a little bit weird. You don't know how much this girl's affecting me. This is for you.
I love Ojo-sama. Like, Oti, bratty Ojo-sama would do the ho-ho-ho laugh, yeah. Absolutely. They're my type. Most correct.
Chan, Winter, as you can see, she's like a snobbish tsundere with a heart of gold. I love her so much. I also really like that she and General Winter can be seen alongside these snowmen, who are also recurring characters on NHK weather related shows. So yes, all the seasons are now cute anime girl mascots, and now they're good for the entire year to portray anything they want on the TV news show.
Let's
and
go.
that's what's been happening on the online and TV side. On the third side is Comic-Cat once again. But now NHK for the first time decided to have an official booth on Comic-Cat 87 that happened in December 2014. And guess who's there? Our favorite weather mascot is there. If you you answered a survey, you were given an official NHK Fin book, which gave details about many NHK properties, including Haru-chan and her friends. The next year, Comic Cat 89, in December 2015, they came back once again with Haru-chan. Things are looking proper for Haru-chan and her friends. 2016 arrives, and once again, Newswatch.
So she really lasted some years, huh? I mean, we're continuing, so maybe she's still around to this day.
Watch 9 restructures itself, but Haru-chan is still safe from unemployment. As a matter of fact, it seems that the new cast had a lot of fun with Haru-chan, bringing her plushie to picnics, using her for experiments, just having a good time, with all the cast still making appearances. There was also a new artist for the comics, but who is this new artist? Yeah, remember that fan art from 2009
Really?
shown before? The K-On! One. That thing was a little bit of a prophecy, because the artist speak for this series of comics was Shiromi Zakana, a pseudonym for Horiguchi Yukiko, illustrator whose designs were used in several Kyoto animation works.
Okay.
Lucky Star, Tamako Market, and of course, K-On! So
Right. That's pretty amazing, the connection.
someone behind this operation really seems to like K-On! This series of comics lasted for a year. The art is absolutely lovely, the characters feel a bit better defined, and due to the style of the artist, it feels much more laid back. It gives a wonderful mood to the comics. Totally charming, you could say. My only complaint, if you can call it one, is that Fuyu-chan's personality is a little bit too warm on this one. I would like if she spat on a cup and said here's a cold drink, but that's just me. The comics could be read
Understandable.
on NHK disaster prevention application as well. Later on, NHK even opened a small exposition for these comics, where you could
Wow.
take a look at the original manuscripts. They were pages torn out of a sketchbook and had pen marks on the paper to test ink. You could see that everything
That's
was
really cool.
hand-drawn and hand-painted. There also was voiced comics, where alongside Toyosaki Aki voicing Haru-chan, Natsu-chan also got voiced
Oh,
by
Yuki.
Yuki Aoi.
They're really going all in on this, huh?
NHK also came back to Comic Cat 2 more times, featuring the new Haru-chan, giving out stickers and having exclusive illustrations in their Fin books. Eventually, all the main girls got voiced as well. For NHK webcomic website, Domo, manga desu. Aki-chan was voiced by Tomatsu Haruka. Fuyu-chan was voiced by Taketatsu Ayana.
Great
And
choice.
unfortunately, I could not find any surviving voice comics. I wanted to hear Fuyu-chan so goddamn bad. But why would they not keep these comics up, you ask?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
What
it doesn't
happened?
last forever, does it? It seems that Newswatch 9 decided to fully change their image, and Haru-chan and her friends didn't seem to go along the lines of what they wanted. But Haru-chan was picked back up by another NHK weather show, Ohayo Nippon. And the weathersman of the show at the time was none other than Nobuyuki
original guy.
Hirai, the creator of Haru-chan. And so
Good.
he got to host the weather with Haru-chan for the first time in 6 years.
That's nice.
Haru-chan and her friends also appeared in other NHK weather shows, such as News Check 11, and she even got a series of line stickers, so it seemed that things were going pretty alright. But then, they started doing the thing. And what is the thing?
Yeah, what do you mean?
It's when you progressively show something less and less with more space in between, slowly making people forget about that thing. And they were shown less and less and less until they were never seen ever again. Haru-chan's
Wow.
Twitter account was set protected and eventually deleted. So with that, it seems that
Like, it's such a small thing. On one side, I'm like, I don't care about like some Twitter account of a fake character, right? But at the same time, I hate this freaking culture of like just erasing history like this. Like, leave it the fuck up. Like, why would you need to delete this? Seriously. Like, there's nothing offensive about it. Just leave it. It's history.
spring was over.
Well,
Little bit sad. I'm sure there's people wondering what happened, but
At a
it
10-year
is
run.
what it is. If you think well, Haru-chan and her friends lasted 10 whole years on the TV
Yeah.
screen, making the weather a bit more interesting to watch. And that is a really long time. They practically lasted the time period where the smartphone boom happened and more people moved on from TV to online consumption. If younger members of the family aren't watching TV, then it might not make sense to keep using these characters. It might make sense to move on to a more traditional style of show if your audience are the people who are older and would rather have it as such. Well,
Yeah, but it's like as time passes makes less sense, right? Like the people who are getting older now might have grown up with anime themselves, manga themselves, right? I mean, you know, I don't know.
I say this, but it seems that General Winter still makes appearances, not so surprising considering he has been on these weather shows for much longer, before Haru-chan was even born. And now, I guess Haru-chan and her friends will just be remembered as something that happened and that it was nice, and probably will be slowly more forgotten as time passed by. But it came to my attention that from the people who were related to Haru-chan, someone still celebrates her once in a while. Muramasa Mikado, the artist of the first series of Haru-chan comics. He sometimes draws Haru-chan to celebrate the beginning of spring. As a matter of fact, just last year, 2024, he did an illustration of her, and it looks like...
Well, it's on me.
God! Spring is here, god damn! It would be more erotic if I drew her wearing it, so I left it out on purpose. Now it's wholesome, no problem. The big culprit who first drew Haru-chan with voluptuous breasts is me. But I'm afraid of even drawing cleavage now is a problem, says the author of Ikamusume. I had a time like this as well. Might not be my place to say it as the guy who we got mad at for drawing cleavage. This is an honest man. This is an honest man. Happy spring, everybody.
Love it,
Happy
love it.
spring. And
This is great. This is great. Okay. I mean, again, I don't think everything needs to last forever, right? 10 years was a good time. It's another pretty cute organic thing, right? I mean, probably got a lot of fun art and all that, and yeah, it was probably a good time, right? And some kids have probably grown up with this character on the weather show if they were watching it or something, so it'll be a fond memory for some people. And then we have a great video like this to, get the history of it. It's nice. It's nice. Another case of, I really enjoyed this kind of fairly organic, story. It's great. Okay, well, very cute. Next we have the Failed Nendoroid MMO.
this is Shinsei, the social MMO released in 2009 and lasted for 7 months. One of its big selling points is that your avatar could be either a normal-sized avatar or what they called a Nendroid-sized avatar. So what exactly is this game? This was purely a social game. It was not a RPG or anything of the sort. It was mostly described as a metaverse, a virtual world. Developed by Hobbystock, an online website that handles anime goods, they got the permission of Good Smile Company to create and market characters in-game as Nendoroids. And this game was taglined as the combination of an avatar game with a creation market. Now, what does this tagline mean? The Nendroids were a point of attraction for possible players, but it wasn't the main selling point. There were 3 main selling points, and the first one is that you had extreme freedom with your avatar. Not from simple item customization, but from the fact you yourself could create items, upload your own character models and textures. But if you didn't know how to do that, the second selling point was the creation of a 3D market for...
But that sounds insanely high for moderation, right?
digital assets where you could obtain those character models and items created by other players. And the last selling point is that within this market, you could not only obtain avatars and parts for it, you could also obtain user-created games. The idea behind Shinsei was that it wanted to be a massive multiplayer online social game slash platform that thrived from user-generated content. I have seen it being compared to Second Life, and I'm guessing for a more modern example, you could refer to VR chat. The game client had 3 different main options to choose from. The first one was to get into Shinsei and hop around the world, meet people and have fun in general. The second one was the Avatar 2. Despite the huge freedom of customization in Shinsei, ultimately the Avatar 2 was more of a dress-up 2 with a 3D viewport. You couldn't modify models or textures in it, but it did have the ability to import them so you could use it in-game. But that also meant that to create these avatars, you would need a third-party software. Developers knew you could use Maya, 3ds Max, and XSI Mod 2, but they were also looking for other options such as Blender. And even to modify textures, you would need something like GIMP or Photoshop. But if you knew how to use these things, you could quite literally make your avatar anything based on the 5-headed or Nendroid models. You could create something more basic, a fox girl, a schoolgirl, nurse, bunny suit, you know how it is. Hell yeah. But you can also be a stick figure, you can be a cow emoji, you can be an eyeball, you can be a seahorse. You're tired of your human body? Sure. You're tired of a
It's getting freaky now.
Sure. You're tired of being? Sure, you're a railway gun, you're a space battleship. Be Reborn is a vending machine. You want to make your character hold something? Yeah, someone might have created it. Have it hold a scythe, have it hold a leek, swords, tuna, have it take a look at a telescope. Aw, look how happy they are fishing in that indoor pond. No, it's not a pond, it's actually just another avatar. It doesn't have to be confined into your avatar body. You have this whole area to play with. Now it looks like you're locked in a prison. It looks like you're enjoying the pool. Looks like you're driving a battleship. Have your character be a stall owner. You want to ride something? Shippai shite ochikonda, genki dasse ki ni shinai. You could also ride a car. Remember, you can mess around with textures. You have an itasha now. People were just getting creative on which part to use for what. The cars were set on legs. They could be considered the equivalent of pants. Be fried shrimp, be sick, be dead. Be dead. You could be anything within the 5-head or Nendroid model schemes. Hell, you could be both. 5-headed tall mecha model with your Nendroid of choice added to it. I recognize her. That's Queen Lavinia from Alice Parade. Honestly, this looks very good. People seem to be really into this amount of freedom. It's probably what they wanted to happen. You could even...
It seems fun to create stuff, but what do you actually do? You just take your character and you go into the game, and is there much to do? Did people create many games?
Mess with emotes. For example, if you have a character holding a bowl of food and chopsticks while doing a crying emote set to a happy face texture, it just looks like it's enjoying a meal. And it was all happening throughout their in-game market. This was all user created and people had to use the in-game shop to obtain these things. Just to make one thing clear, the game didn't download those models and texture informations by default. Whenever you saw someone with a model or texture you haven't seen previously, you had to right-click on them and then download that information, otherwise it would be a black model with a question mark head. And there was the Avatar 2. The last option in the game client was the Game 2. Just like the Avatar 2, it was a tool for testing and uploading purposes. You couldn't make a game in it. You also needed third-party software, but this time you only had one option. Shinsei had the capability to run games developed in the Kiri Kiri 2 engine. The thing about Kiri Kiri is that it's mostly known for being used in the development of visual novels. Fate Stay Night and Tsukihime, for example. But it seems there were two types of scripts that could be used, KAG and TJS2. They claimed doing novel games with KAG was more approachable for beginners, and for other things the TJS2 script was used and was more appropriate for experienced people. But honestly, I have no idea what any of these means. To actually play those games, you did it inside the Shinsei Road, single player and multiplayer that was done through peer-to-peer connections. If you played alone, you would either become a message that said currently playing, or you would have a mark on top of your head. If you were on a multiplayer game lobby and looking for people, you would become a big-ass monolith, and people could join that monolith, or you could invite other people as well. Now, of course, you saw the title of the video. Shinsei didn't work, but why? They didn't seem to have got the games they wanted.
I mean, thinking about it again, like the idea of just making the base and then letting people make all the content, you know, it's clearly worked out for some stuff like VRChat, Roblox, right? But maybe this was too ahead of its time, right? It sounds like, you know, the fact that you have to use external program, and then, you know, once you're in the game, you have to like click and load and download the data for like every people's model, everything looks like shit. This all sounds like limitation of the time, right? And the fact that they only have like, you know, a very limited game engine that people can develop minigame for, yeah, it just sounds a bit too limited, I guess. Just, you know, ahead of its time in ID.
1. Making games takes much more time than modeling an avatar. 2. Only being able to use Kitty seemed to be very limiting to the creators. 3. There didn't seem to be real big incentives to create games specifically for Shinsei. If you had the ability to make games for Shinsei, you could be making games for any other platform instead. 4. Even if games were made, they were either rudimentary or anything you could play anywhere else. They seemed to both had hoped that people would upload their already completed games in Shinsei as well as join together to make new games. It doesn't seem that either happened. They also did a game contest with 1 million yen in prizes, and that was a good incentive. They didn't get enough entries, and they might have been pressed for time because the deadline was a month after the announcement. Not very surprising there weren't enough entries. 3 months after the official opening, they were already having problems with player count. 5 months in, it didn't felt like anybody was bothering to log in anymore. If there's nobody to play the games, there is no reason to make them, and so the game creation side of Shinsei just died. The world itself seems to have care put into it, but with nothing much to do besides seeing how it looks like, and it apparently being, according to a post I saw, in terms of RPG, it's like not being able to leave the first area. It just lost.
I mean, could you do voice chat though? I think like, you know, this, it's kind of like VR chat, right? A lot of world in VR chat, there's nothing to do, right? It just looks nice, and the point is really to just talk to people, right? Even if you're not using a VR headset, a lot of people do it, you know, in a normal PC way, right? But again, maybe a bit too ahead of its time and a bit too limited, I guess.
The interest of people. If I list every NPC I saw during this research besides the shops and tutorial, there are the random dancing NPCs, the apologizing boy and the girl who doesn't forgive, the NPC that's just called Frog, a boy in the forest, and a construction worker on a broken bridge that's dressed as the default boy avatar. There were also a few events, like a festival, a quiz tournament, and Itasha races. Yeah, I think that's all I saw. In 7 months, that was it. From everything they presented as an idea, the only one that thrived, and it did really well, was the avatar customization side.
Yeah.
And here lies the problem with that side.
Yeah, obviously, like, it's a sick concept, but, you know, copyright, inappropriate stuff, you know, the problem is obvious, right? Yeah.
The big majority of items were free. The creator had the freedom to choose if an item could be modified and if it was paid, and most of them chose them to be free. Nendoroid Miku was by far the most popular avatar, and Nendoroid Miku was 100% free. Matter of fact, I saw a blog that said that although the writer didn't look into it too deep, they claimed that there weren't even 10 people who made paid content.
I mean, not surprising either, like, this was 2009, right? You know, people were probably, like, not willing to just fork over cash, right? For something like that.
That's not good at all. Kind of hard to believe the number, but it does tell me that very little people did paid content. To put into perspective, 4Gamer, a blog revolving around MMORPGs, claimed that on the very first beta test that lasted 2 days, there were over 1,600 uploads. I don't know how many of those uploads were shareable, but I know all the shareable ones were free because the beta test only allowed this option. If, on the official opening of the game, management decided to suddenly slap a price on those items, that would have been a little bit shady. And here lies the other problem with the Avatar 2. The Avatar 2 is really fun. For the people making the avatars, for the general public that didn't know how to use 3D softwares and even image editing softwares for the textures, it just became another glorified dress-up game with even less stuff to do compared to other options they might have had at the time. So how did they plan to make money exactly? Well, the first one is obviously the sale of user-generated content. Shinsei sold their in-game currency called Kero, where 1 yen was 1 Kero, and for every sale of paid content, Shinsei would detract 30% of the price of the sale as processing fees, and 70% would go to the creator. Of course, as you know, the whole market side of the game fell flat into its face, and so nobody was buying or spending Kero. Their next monetization plan seemed to be brand collaborations. At one point, Shinsei opened brand stores in-game. Good Smile Company had a shop selling the Nendroid model of their mascot Gumako. Gonzo offered a shop for Cho Aniki, where you could buy models for Adon and Samson. And Hobstock itself opened their own shop to sell a model of the Figma version of Billy Harrington in collaboration with Nico Nico. So these shops worked for both the sales of digital content and advertisement of real-life products. Another monetization plan seemed to be in-game billboards showcasing in-game and real-life products. Of course, if there's no one there to see the billboards and buy these promotional items, they also don't work. They had campaigns with online payment companies, but considering almost nobody bought Kero, I don't see this being meaningful. They had a collaboration with a 3D printing company as well, where you could create figures from your avatar. I'm not going to lie, this looks dubious. They looked washed and grainy. Though it is exciting that it could be a figure of your avatar, that you could make it look like anything you want within the regulations of Shinsei. But this cost 12,980 yen without shipping. That was over $140 at the time.
I mean, no surprise, right? I don't even know that even still seems kind of cheap, right? I mean, even if it's a simple design, you know, if they have to make like a different design every time, yeah, it's probably a lot of work.
Keep in mind, an actual Nendroid, Miku's Nendroid for example, it went for less than a fourth of the price.
Yeah, but it's a mass-produced one.
3,000 yen, including taxes, and you could change poses and faces. This is just a prediction of mine, but I really don't think anyone used the service at all. Yeah, it just looks to me the whole operation bled money. Behind the scenes, developers seemed to be active, updates and bug fixes were definitely being sent out, and there were decent advertising attempts as well. But in-game, it doesn't feel like they were doing much to entertain the players. It feels like they just said, here's a sandbox, make a castle, eat some sand, contract toxoplasmosis, and make sure to invite your friends. I'm guessing the name is pronounced Shinsei as both synthesized and Shinsei, which gives the idea of a new world. I'm sure many of you have heard the term Shinsekai, a new world. But all that happened was the end of it. At the very least, the apologizing boy managed to be forgiven, and so both of them got to see the death of the universe together. At one point, they even added an image too, with the intention of creating and editing comics for in-game distribution. It really feels they wanted to create a sort of otaku metaverse.
I mean, again, like, there is some ideas, but, you know, just not enough to do. Like, that's the problem. You know, players like sandbox, but they need a good amount of like base elements to still drive you in that sandbox. And again, if all there is like creating games or creating avatar, which most people are not gonna do, there's not enough to do. Yeah.
Well, for every MMO that lived, it stands atop the grave of a dozen others, and Shinsei is just another one of those that failed to keep the attention of the people. Couldn't gather last standing users, couldn't survive, it is what it is. At the very least, people did visit for the closure of the game to say goodbye. Now, is there any lesson to be learned here? Not from me. I found this by pure accident while searching for sketchbook fan art and thought it would be interesting to look into it. That's the only reason I made this video.
Okay. You know, I see the potential once again. I mean, I think people are still waiting for like a kind of genuine metaverse kind of MMO, not in the way Facebook was envisioning it, but yeah, something like a mix of like, you know, Roblox, but with, you know, much more like good visuals, if that makes sense, right? Even though you can have good visuals in Roblox, that's not what most people think. A vibe, you know, kind of like VR chat, right? Where, you know, you can have just the vibe of hanging out, right? But again, yeah, like some kind of portal with a lot of variety of, you know, avatars, games, and things to do. There's this example, right? But again, they're not all exactly what people I think of an actual kind of metaverse game with like infinite possibilities of content, games, meetings, variety. You know, it's bound to happen that more games try something like that, right? But again, you just need like a very strong base for people to really get engaged, right? And you're obviously trying to like hit a big audience. You know, people who just want to play games or create games in that metaverse. People who want to hang out. People who want to have things to do, right? Not just talk to people. It's probably like just very hard to, you know, to create something like that. But it's bound to happen. You know, I'm sure like everybody always thinks about it, and there's a ton of companies who think about it. But you know, it's such an undertaking, and most of the examples like this have failed, right? And you know, it's bound to happen, is what I think. So yeah, interesting. I should definitely try to find more videos about like obscure MMOs, because, you know, myself, I've never really played any. Like back in 2012, I tried WoW for like a few hours. I wasn't into it. And then, you know, I've always said it, but like over the years, I've always been a single player guy, right? I've played some multiplayer game, but even then I would play solo, right? And like mostly shooters where, you know, I wouldn't voice chat, I wouldn't chat, I would just, you know, play, like I would play with a team, but without really talking to anyone. So kind of solo in a way. I never really played like MMOs in those kind of ways where you really interact with people that much. The only time was a game called Chicken Fidget, which was like a browser game, you know, where you did quests every day. And, you know, I actually had a guild at one point, but it's not like I really interacted with people like you imagine, right? I mostly like, you know, recruited people, fired people, and set up raid, but I wasn't really like, you know, I never really experienced the MMO social aspect that people often talk about when they reminisce about, you know, Guild Wars or World of Warcraft and stuff like that. You know, I never really had that in my youth, as I was mostly with the internet and then just addicted to single player game mostly. So yeah, that was never really my thing too much, right? But I still sometimes long for that kind of experience. But, you know, there's no game that ever looks like I would actually enjoy them enough to stick around for a while. I mean, one that I got interested when I actually tried is Final Fantasy XIV, right? You know, it was still interesting, and yet I know that I would probably end up playing mostly solo as well, because it's a game praised for the story quite a bit, right? Yeah. So I would probably get into the story and not really want to play with people to just do boss or something. Anyway, good video. I'll take a quick break before we continue. I think next maybe we're gonna talk about Maid, but it might be something else actually. Yeah, looking at this, maybe it's not the Maid, which ends up being the main music. Yeah. Anyway, coming back in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the wait. So yeah, let's continue learning about stuff from this great channel. Next we have hundreds of maids born in an Imageboard. And yeah, as I was talking about before, like at first I was thinking of like the maids that end up giving rise to the maid music genre, right? But maybe this isn't quite that. Or it's related. I mean, let's learn.
The Nendroids Maids are maid characters born from the Nendroid board in 2chan, also known as Futaba Channel, where each personality and appearance are based on their...
But obviously I know it's not just maid music, like so many of these designs have more corner, right?
given names. They became very popular within and eventually outside the website, and I'm here to give people a better understanding of what exactly they are. In August 2001, the Textboard 2 channel faced the possibility of closure, and that resulted in the Imageboard 2chan to be created as a place of refuge. From now on, I will call it Futaba Channel. One of the boards was used so people could post and discuss pictures of anime and manga, Nijigen Gazo, meaning two-dimensional pictures. Due to its popularity, lots of people started posting off-topic stuff, which led to the creation of the Nijigen Ura board. Ura being reverse, something that stays behind the scenes. It comes from an old slang, used when people posted something for their own self-satisfaction, and others told them this wasn't their diaries and they should just write that in the reverse side of a pamphlet. So basically it meant their post was useless. It was a sort of containment board that eventually became so popular it turned into the face of the website. They still allow a much wider range of discussion besides just anime and manga. One day, a user that went by the name Toshiaki appeared on the board asking for doujinshi to be uploaded, and he was very persistent, leading to him getting banned and the default name of the posters being replaced from Nanashi-san, which means no name or anonymous, to Toshiaki as a joke by the administration. Nendroid users became known as Toshiaki, which helped create a sense of identity inside the board. Ultimately, they caused a lot of trouble, leading to them removing the name altogether, which just became blank, usually portrayed as square brackets. As time went on, the Nendroid board separated itself into 5 boards, 3 public and 2 hidden, and all of these boards eventually developed its own culture. The public boards set the name...
I actually don't really know the story of 2chan, but obviously I know 4chan, right? I've been on 4chan before, and you know, I've seen videos talking about the different boards and all that, and obviously like the culture there, and the way the board developed with their own culture and all that is kind of the same, I think, since obviously 4chan was like just an evolution and western version of 2chan, so makes sense. Kind of like many specialized forums, right? They start with, you know, forum discussing specific topic, but they always end up being people always going on off topic, so they start creating thread about different stuff, and then the forum just becomes like a topic forum. It kind of loses its identity eventually.
Toshiaki back, but the hidden boards kept the empty name. Before the separation, in a thread, one user drew an interesting self-portrait, and this was accepted as the face of the posters in the Nendroid boards. Now this was quite long, but I feel necessary. Nendroid Maids is something that occurred mainly in the hidden board IMG, and whenever the maids are not interacting with each other or other Futaba channel characters, they are interacting with their masters, who may be portrayed as the previously mentioned self-portrait or as someone with square brackets as a face. They represent the users in the Nendroid IMG board. For convenience sake, I will just call them masters from now on. And now I can start talking about the maids. Everything started when someone posted a drawing with the simple description of Medoi-san, portraying a listless maid. Someone else drew her, and people started developing her character along consecutive threads. At first, Medoi was likely just an anagram for Meido, but then it was accepted that it stood for Mendo, meaning bothersome. And thus the first Nendroid maid was born, alongside the name pattern of having it be wordplay and ending with is-san. She is the maid...
Frankly, from all the videos since so far, it seems like it's always wordplay. Like all of this organic thing just go on wordplay, and the more I learn about Japanese, the more it's like everything is wordplay. Band name, artist names, song names, whatever you want, it all just develop into wordplay because of how the language is built.
That find things to be very bothersome to do. That doesn't mean she doesn't do work, but she does try to find the most efficient way to do it before it becomes troublesome. She has a cow called Double Muscle and a cat. Depending on who you ask, the cat is Medoi. Next in line is Modoi-san. Modoi comes from Modokashi, finding something vexing, the feeling that things are going too slow. She was born from a mistype of Medoi, is short-tempered and brash, but she can also be represented as someone who just acts on impulse without giving
I like
any
this
thought.
type.
And from now on, it pretty much follows this pattern. A maid created over wordplay and ending with Isan, born at the whim of the posters in that message board. Hidoi-san. Hidoi stands for something that's horrible. Something bad is always happening to her. It can be something small or something probably fatal, but she will always stand up in the end and say, Hidoi desu, as in, that was horrible. She was born as a scapegoat for Medoi abuse in the board and is very easy to bully. Kudoi-san. Kudoi stands for being verbose, for repeating words too much. She likes to talk a lot, but is a nice caring person, even though people don't ask for it. She's also treated as a sexy character. Madoi-san. Madoi stands for being perplexed, to not know what to do.
I think this one is used in one of the maid music artists.
She's a stray maid that doesn't have a set master, getting lost across time and space, and eventually ended up on the house the previous maids work on. She doesn't talk much or show much emotions, but she is always confused. She's about 2 meters tall. These 5 maids are often seen together and considered some sort of first generation. Inai-san. Inai stands for not being there. She wears adaptive camouflage and can disappear at will. At first, she was born from discussions where masters thought there was a maid around when there really wasn't. She can be portrayed as pure blank. Chikoi-san. Chikoi stands for small.
Chikoi is the one that was used for the maid music guy. Chikoi the maid is one of the most well-known one, I feel like.
She is a tiny maid. How small she is up to whoever's portraying her, but usually she's palm top size. She is quite good at doing fine work. She is a princess of a dwarf country from Hokkaido and can speak to small animals. The next ones are from a group called the Tissue Maids. They were put
One of them too, I think, yeah.
together because their headpieces look like tissues. Yawai-san.
Yawai is another one from the maid music genre.
For weak. She has a weak body and always ends up drawing blood, so she's not very helpful as a maid, despite wanting to help. She has a complex over her chest, and even if she's interested in it, she looks like she will die if someone touches her, so she can't have sexual relations. Kurai-san. Kurai stands for dark. She has a gloomy atmosphere around her. She always carries a notebook and takes notes on whatever she's observing, alongside records of time and date. Used to post the contents of these diaries on threads called Saturday Night Tissue Maids. She hates birds due to watching Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds as a kid. Nemui-san. Nemui stands for sleepy. She's always sleepy and carrying her favorite pillow with her. Seems to also have the ability to make people around her to fall asleep. She is immune to any attacks against her when she's sleeping. She seems to be very fond of Kurai-san. The next group are known as the improper maids. Yakui-san. Yakui stands for narcotics. It also stands for the reason you click on this video. She's the maid that likes drugs. She was kicked out of her house, a pharmacy, for using products herself. She's very knowledgeable about medicinals, from happy powders to medicines doing clinical trials. She has routes to obtain legal and illegal items, as well as being able to make her own stuff. All the drug abuse led to her growth to be stunted, so she's short. Once a month, she is tied down for detoxing purposes, and the shackles around her body are not because she got arrested, but because we're used to hold her down in this time. She became the starting point of the birth of more bizarre maids. She also became very popular on the West, starting in 2005 when she was used as one of the mascots for the message board 420-chan. She ends her sentences with "S." Dorei-san. Dorei stands for
Slave.
slave. She's the slave maid who believes she's a possession. Her heart broken if her current master tried to treat her like a normal person by giving proper food and clothing. She will probably think she's being sold. She's very strong and can take off her ball and chain if needed. But if her master is the one taking it out, she'll think she's being thrown away. Her previous master taught her all sorts of plays, and due to the drugs used on her, she is short and has high tolerance to them. Lots of masters tried to return her smile, but were unsuccessful due to her perceiving their kindness as a sort of play. Her favorite food is sugar cubes. Shitai-san.
I love the level of like creativity and like the thoughts behind the character. I mean, so much of this would make such a good anime, but of course it's not the case, right? But genuinely, like, you know, maybe it's my time to complain about anime, but like, you know, the amount of like reused basic trope that is always reused in so many anime. You just need to go to freaking 2chan and look at all these maids and take some concept from here, because there's so many good ideas here, like so many quirks and ideas that feel fresh and, you know, are not overdone.
Tai stands for corpse. She's
Jiangxi.
just a dead body that's also a maid. She usually moves by strings set up on the ceiling and is almost always portrayed as having her panties showing up, even if it looks unnatural. Dorei-san takes care of her body, and Yakui-san makes the preservatives used on her. Itai-san. Itai comes from hurt, but here it's used as cringy. She is a middle schooler that frequents a maid academy where most Nijura maids graduated from. The academy comes from the idea that Nijura is actually a town where all the characters and users live in. That started when someone made a series of stories featuring second-year elementary schooler Toshiaki. The maid school setting was born because of her. Itai-san is a maid in training who found her master grimoire, aka his cringy diary from middle school, and thought it was the coolest thing ever. She is the Chunibyo maid. Not very good at housework, but can make pretty good replicas. Actually a very popular and proactive girl, quite liked by her peers. Her heterochromia are contact lenses. Fanshi-san. Her name stands for fancy, used in the sense of something created from the imagination. She is delusional and a yandere maid. She believes Itai-san is her soulmate from a past life, so she stalks her and tries to remove anyone who stays on her way, usually Itai-san's masters. She herself has been under several masters, but no one wants to talk about what happened to them. If her eyes become red, she's about to attack. But Tensai-san. She calls herself Tensai, which means genius, but her name is actually Bonsai, which means mediocre. The joke is that people start calling her Bonsai and correct themselves to Tensai. One of the middle schoolers in the maid academy, she's friends with Itai-san. She is the maid that represents all the possibilities one can achieve in the future. A representation of all of those that were thought as geniuses but simply mature prematurely, who had good results in elementary school but hit a wall afterwards. Made lots of masters look back to their pasts. Her eyes sparkle when she's filled with hope. When her heart breaks, the sparkles disappear. Depending on how strong the sparkles are, she can release beams from her eyes. One of the very few Japanese-style maids. Saitei-san. Saitei stands for the lowest, the worst. Despite her simplistic cute face, she is the most vulgar maid amongst the Nijura maids. Everything that comes out of her mouth is a dirty joke. Her existence is a dirty joke. It was actually kinda hard to find pictures of her I could use despite there being so many, because we're all the worst. Saitei-san masters were picked as the most outstanding masters amongst them all, out of pity for how vulgar she is. Kusai-san. Kusai stands for stinky. She is based on the Flatwoods monster and the idea that its head looks like a maid headband. Also called 3M-san due to being 3 meters tall.
Kind of like
she
the design,
is quite good at housework. A maiden at heart that cries just by her master being sick, but she smells enough to make a dog pass out. She has a complex over her flat chest and has broken speech. Ozoi-san. Ozoi comes from ozomashi, meaning...
Ozoi is another one of the music maid that I know. And again, I guess I didn't quite realize that, you know, like basically it's like a lot of like Russian artists who don't really make any kind of similar music, right? It's very varied, the main music genre, who I guess just take on as their, like, not personality, but as their visual, right? Basically one of the main, yeah. Ozai is one of the great ones.
Impulsive, disturbing, horrifying. Based on a character from a Domon Seimon's hentai manga and a counterpart in his manga Paraiso, Ozoi-san's portrayals seem to have gone from a girl with a gross personality to a gore/horror character. Yabai-san. Yabai in this case means something that's dangerous. She is based on the owl Minerva from Jagan wa Gachirin ni Tobu. It kills anything it sees by sending a poisonous curse that spews from its eyes into the target's body. She works for masters that can revive after being killed. Sometimes she wears blindfolds or glasses, can understand human speech but can't speak it. She is actually quite kind of hard. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit. Shuzai-san. Shuzai stands for reporting. She just goes around gathering material to report the news, so she doesn't do much maid work. Kiai-san. Kiai stands for fighting spirit, motivation, a master in martial arts. She sees her master as both sense of the words, as a maid and as a martial artist. She is based on Kasuga Sakura from Street Fighter. Dekoi-san. Based on Data East Corporation games. Alongside Kiai-san, she is part of the Maid Academy's high school group. Her master is the President of the United States and he keeps getting kidnapped, to which she heads there to save him. She was part of the country special forces Bloody Wolf. Her appearance is based on Chelnov. The hair is based on the ox in Karnov's Revenge. Banzai-san comes from Banzai, like hooray. She is always happy and always says Banzai. She loves crab. She has lots of friends, including the three previously mentioned. Despite knowing about her true nature, she seems to also be friends with Akui-san. Akui stands for malice, bad intentions. She wears the mask of being a proper maid with good appearances, but causes all sorts of troubles to her master. Asai-san. Asai comes from shallow. Her thinking is shallow. Basically, she's dumb. She is the little sister of Akui-san and carries a shovel around. Kikai-san. Kikai stands for machine, a 30-meter tall robot maid who's good or bad depending on who's controlling her, but can act for herself as well due to a self-running computer when not controlled. Uzai-san. Uzai stands for annoying, hyper-energetic. She talks like Robin Williams and wakes up her master with a good morning Kako-nam. Kako being bracket, keeps imitating any gags that's popular at the time while thinking it's hilarious. Usai-san. Usa stands for Usagi, rabbit. When a troll posted an image that said Omaera Uzai, people turned it into Omaera Usai. So she's both a rabbit maid and a character that tells others we're annoying in a cute way. Hiki-san. Hiki comes from Hikikomori, a shut-in. She's afraid of large numbers of people and is addicted to online games. She and her room are so dirty they're treated as a biohazard weapon. From the radioactive environment, her PC came to life and also became a maid, as well as a cockroach living there.
So many good concepts. I mean, seriously, the level of originality from all this. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I'm literally thinking, like, what a shame. Like, with so much, you know, they're cool concepts, you might say they're only cool concept for a guy character, but no, it's only like a baseline, right? I mean, you know, so many of those, like, simple, you know, character clearly have like so much potential for like, you know, evolving them and all that, right? All you would need is like a great manga or a great anime for it. Yeah.
Warui comes from bad, evil. She is a maid that's attempting to create an evil organization to dominate the world, but she's not very good at it. Her master's house is already under her control according to her. She has a whip, Hawaii-san. She represents Hawaii, and I find her notable because just as she was created, she was sent to the maid cemetery, the place where forgotten maids go to rest, and she was made the caretaker of the place. Kaitai-san. Kaitai stands for dismemberment. She is a maid created by using body parts of several corpses. Her creator and master calls her my daughter. Has a conscience due to the magic power within the screw in her head. Has to replace body parts once in a while, so she has a chainsaw she uses to look for them. Has a bad mouth and is a father cow. Looks sadist, but is actually a masochist. Jorei-san. Jorei stands for exorcism. She's
Cool
a
design.
battle priest maid. She sells suspicious
Like something out of
articles
a-
and
a
explodes
thing.
haunted houses. She doesn't have any ability to sense the supernatural, but she does have an exorcist knuckle that can do the work by force, even if the opponent is a god. Harai-san. Harai means exorcism in the
Lego.
purification way. She is a Miko maid. Alongside Jorei, she is the part of the Nijura Ghostbusters. She can sense spiritual powers, but if she's hit with malice, she throws up. She just kinda became a vomit character. Her
Okay.
life is suffering. Negai-san comes from Negai, wish, and negative. Maid friend of Jorei-san, she's a maid nun that makes negative wishes. Eventually she became a character that just gets treated like a child. She does uses her appearance to get a discount on the movie theater. She got officially married to her master in a thread. Dari-san. Name comes from Darui, which means being listless, thinking something's a pain in the ass. She acts
I really like this type, like the trope of the, you know, the not good maid, right? Like, who's annoyed, who doesn't want to do it, who's, you know, kind of, or that fan art on the right reminds me of Black Lagoon. Yeah, it's good.
like a delinquent and is the older sister of Medoi-san. That Medoi-san. Nijura used to be only one board, but later got split into IMG and DAT. That Medoi is Medoi, but on the Dat Nijura board. It sounds like Da Medoi, where Dame gives the feeling of no good, so she's the no good Medoi. She's also the sister of Medoi-san and Dari-san. Okay, time to introduce some of the Chinese Nijura maids. They were still born in Nijura, but they're based on Chinese mythology. It started when the four holy beasts were turned
I'm guessing again, like this video is gonna cover like a lot of them, but it's probably like just infinite, right? Because again, with this concept, you can really make anything. I'm sure eventually it even gets out of like just wordplay.
into maids. Suzaku-san, the vermilion bird. On daytime, she spends her time chirping with other birds on top of energy poles. At night, she's a bar master. One time, she got caught by Kurai-san and became her servant temporarily. Seiryu-san, the azure dragon. She acts like the mother figure of the group and is constantly mistaken to be a housewife. If you touch the scale on her nape, she returns to a dragon form. Byako-san, the white tiger. Childish and not very smart, is also called Dumb Cat number 1. She patrols the town with her two companions composed of other Nijura characters. Kuroe,
face.
based on Chloe from Noir, and Nyai Nyai, based on Tohika Mai from Mai Hime. But mostly they just play around. Genbu-san, the black turtle snake. The oldest of the
Nice
group,
design.
her actions are slow. She becomes faster in rainy days and inside water, but still takes a long time on the bathroom and bathing. Her tail is a snake and has its own personality, can also talk. Her threads were written one word at a time. Now, I don't know about Chinese mythology, so I'll refrain on trying to talk about much more. But there is a lot of them, such as a
Sure.
group of the four perils, created as a contrast to the four holy beasts. I'll present two more and move on. Koryu-san, the yellow dragon. She's a beauty, but when she opens her mouth, she's like a dirty old man. Very confident and does whatever she feels like doing and seems to like trouble, doesn't respect others. Kirin-san, the Kirin. She and Koryu-san have a mother-daughter relationship. She is very kind and honest. She likes to be petted and hugged by her master. She likes
Kawaii.
beer, and she reads his
Is she
LOL
Suika?
comics in secret. I can't believe I'm actually saying the line. She is a few hundred years old elementary schooler maid. From now on, I'm just
Peak.
gonna go really fast. Hayai-san. Hayai comes
Sonic.
from fast. She's a maid based on Sonic. Kakkoi-san. Kakkoi stands for cool. Graduate of the Maid Academy, she likes things that are cool. Anime and tokusatsu in general. Yurui-san. From Yurui, which means leisure. She takes things in stride and always has a soft smile on her face. Deisei-san. Deisei stands for composure, calmness, has a stoic face and always seems unaffected. Komei-san. Komei is for both kome, rice, and the strategist, Kong-min. Supai-san. As
Yes,
you
yes,
can see,
yes.
she's the spy.
Zhuge Liang. I know it's not pronounced Zhuge Liang, but you know,
Maid, Zwei-san, Cyborg Maid. Zwei stands for two in German because when this maid was
Yeah,
born,
architect of Chibi.
Kikai-san already existed. Also named after Takemoto Izumi's cat, Zwei. Kasugai-san. Kasugai are metal cleats used in old Japanese architecture. She is the metal cleat maid. Has little
It's so bloody specific.
horns, is made of metal, threatens to stab you, and rides a bizarre shark. Shiharai-san. Shiharai stands for payments. She has a fake smile because she is the loan shark maid. Futoi-san. Futoi stands for fat. She is the overweight maid. Nikui-san. Her name stands for meat and detestable. She detests the woman that tricked her father into bankruptcy, as well as herself for overeating from stress. She does love her master. Utoi-san. Utoi stands for being unfamiliar, ignorant of things.
So good
She
guy, yeah.
used to be a young lady of a good family, but due to bankruptcy, she became a maid. Kyoi-san. Kyoi stands
That's true Sugoi guy, I guess. I see. Kyonyu. Yeah.
for both the circumference around the chest and fret, so she has a threatening chest. She is the maid with enormous breasts, the biggest amongst the Nijiura maids.
Biggest breast and strongest back.
Shibai-san. Shibai stands for a play, acting. She is the actress maid. Pedoi-san is of very young appearance, but is also one of the very earliest maids. She doesn't have presence besides May 5th, which is Kids' Day in Japan. Wahai-san. Waha is one of the first 10 big characters of Nijiura.
Okay. I guess one of them is from a key character, I think, but the others I don't know. I mean, one of them is the Scream, right? But damn, I don't actually know most of the characters here.
Baha is one of the first 10 big characters of Nijiura. Yamato Suzuran from the visual novel Suigetsu. Wahai-san is her, but on Medoi's body. Fumei-san. Fumei stands for unclear, uncertain. At first, someone posted a drawing and just called it name unclear. Also plays on the fact that it was unclear if he was a girl or a boy cross-dressing. In the end, he became Hidoi-san's younger brother.
I like this archetype.
Mugoi stands for seeing something and not being able to bear it. She's the sister of Hidoi-san and Fumei-san. She was invited by Yuki-san, the headmaster of the Maid Academy, to join the school, but from seeing the things that happened to her sister, she definitely doesn't want to. She's not a maid. Tsudoi-san. Tsudoi stands for gathering. She's a mix of the 5 maids composing the first generation of maids. Tsurai-san. Tsurai means a hard situation,
Another type I
feeling
like.
bitter, emotionally having a hard time. A lot of it is due to her unique master that she had to serve, though in the eyes of others, he looks like a normal, wealthy gentleman. Gokai-san. Gokai stands for
Misunderstanding.
misunderstanding. She has an evil face but is good at heart.
I like this type.
Mazui stands for tasting bad. She's the maid that can do everything but make food that tastes good. Her father is the chef of a 3 Michelin star restaurant. Tyude-i-san. There's no official reading for it. There's not even an explanation for how she first appeared. She just did. She appears, throws some food at her master, and says, Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Sentai-san. Sentai stands for squadron. Here it's used like Super Sentai. They're the Sentai maids. Nukui-san. Nukui stands for warmth. She is a kotatsu maid. Chisui-san. Chisui stands for chi being blood and su being suck.
Unique
She's the
design.
vampire maid. Devout Christian and very masochistic. Mokei-san. Mokei stands for model, like figure modeling. She's the maid that's an expert in all sorts of dioramas and plastic models. Nyobi-san. Nyobi stands for the urge to take a piss.
Not my
She's
thing,
the
no.
maid that holds her piss. Kanchigai-san. Kanchigai means having the wrong idea. She's
You said it so straightforward. She's the maid that holds her peace. Understandable.
the maid that misunderstands
I'm also a guy who holds his peace. And then I go to the bathroom and I don't hold it anymore. That's me.
things. Hitei-san, Kotei-san, and Katei-san, sisters members of the Maid Academy's middle school group. Their names mean negation, affirmation, and supposition, and it shows in their personalities. Sensai-san. Sensai stands for delicate. She's the maid that overreacts to eroticism and throw threads and fights day and night against the enemies of Nijiura. Her skin is sensitive as well. Shugoi-san. Shugoi comes from sugoi, which means incredible. This way of saying it is usually seen when a character is feeling too good and speaks as if they're melting.
Oh, yes. It's the meme of like when you're coming, Sugoi. Yeah.
She is the Futanari maid, and she's fine, as long as her switch is not flipped.
I'm fine.
Otherwise, someone will need to be a sacrifice. It was very hard to find pictures that I could put on this video because her member is the size of an arm. Tanuki-san and Kitsune-san, the raccoon and fox maids. Kitsune-san name is forced, but she was born just after Tanuki-san was. It also gives the reading of Kitsune-san, like older sister Kitsune. Mondai-san. Mondai comes from a problem, as in a question. She is based on the Sphinx and the riddles it gave. Radabai-san comes from Lullaby.
Wait, she looks like the blind girl from Kanaba Shoujo.
The Bard Maid. She is a vagabond, filled with life experiences and has lovers all around the world. The Buying Lullaby stands for bisexual. Tokei-san.
Let's go.
Tokei stands for clock. She can't stop time for a few seconds, although she also gets frozen in time. If the key on her head stops, she also stops. She was an attempt of making a Nijura maid based on Izayoi Sakuya from Toho Project. Danbai-san. Maid based on Aura Battler Danbai. There's also Birubain-san, based on...
I actually tried that show recently. It's a very weird show from the 80s. It's a mecha medieval fantasy anime, where a lot of the mecha are basically like insect-type mecha. And that sounds really awesome, but I tried episode 1 and it didn't seem very good. Like, the concept, the world, in idea seems good, but just watching episode 1, it didn't seem like it was going to be very quality. It's one of those things where the concept sounds so awesome, but then the work itself is probably not, you know.
Fine. We're both two of the earliest Nijura maids. Edoi-san. Born from a mistype of Medoi-san, Edoi-san is the Edo period maid. Jimmy-san. Jimmy stands for plain. Simple. She is a plain maid. Shinrai-san. Shinrai stands for trust. She is the maid that trusts everything and everyone from the bottom of her heart. Utagai-san. Utagai stands for doubt. She distrusts everything. She harvests and makes everything she uses. Born out of a color variation of...
Oh, the joke is probably Satsugai Seo. Utagai. Yeah, because the Traumatized City is like a metal anime, and one of the songs is Satsugai Seo, which is like, you know, murder, right? But yeah, it's like doubt, Utagai, Seo. Yeah, you can read Seo. Yeah, okay. I get it.
She harvests and makes everything she uses. Born out of a color variation of Shinrai-san. She likes to fish. Yamashi-san. Yamashi stands for feeling guilty of something. She is always hiding something and averting her gaze. Imoge-san. Imoge comes from a pronunciation of IMG, the Nijura board where Nijura maid's activity thrived on. Imo is potato and ge is hair. It is a mascot of the board. Imoge-san is that mascot turned into a maid. Hiratai-san. Hiratai means flat. She's the flat maid, as in she's paper thin. Remonte-san. The maid that can prepare delicious lemon tea, although no one has ever seen her pouring it in person, as well as it always being lukewarm. She, alongside Bitensai-san and Kirin-san, make the elementary school blonde-haired idol group Kitere, run by Koryu-san's talent agency. Kurimu Pai-san. Name comes from cream pie. She is the maid that likes to make pies. Hinotori-san comes from Hinotori, the manga series Phoenix by Osamu Tezuka. The biggest scoundrel in Nijura maid's history, she is responsible for giving Yabai-san her curse for crossing her in a past life. Seiza Uranai-san. Seiza Uranai stands for sun sign astrology. She's a maid based on the horoscope who also does fortune tellings. Riri-san. Name stands for Lily. She's the Yuri maid. Ebifurai-san. Ebifurai stands for fried shrimp. She was born on the Nijura DAT board. One day, Yakui went there and they sent Ebifurai-san in exchange, was promptly eaten but later revived and returned to DAT. Victory-san, the maid based on Victory Gundam. Dogi-san, the maid based on Boston Dynamics Big Dog. Satsui-san. Satsui stands for killing intent. She's based on Akuma from Street Fighter. Mono-ai-san. One Eye. She's a Cyclops maid. I think we're good, right? I think at this point you get the gist of it. This might be a good cutoff point. The thing...
Sure, yeah. Again, I'm sure there's like thousands. absolute thousands, but there's probably like only a good amount that are actually popular enough to constantly be getting new art and lore, expanding.
Yes, there are still many maids. Many who fell into obscurity, many who had enough presence but I just didn't mention, and of course, many modern Nijura maids. Although it seems to me that Nijura maids hasn't been thriving lately, there are still Nijura maid discussions happening, but ultimately, they're all original characters whose appearances and personalities are based on wordplay. There's not much depth to it besides it being message board culture. Is it really that worth to delve much deeper into the background of these characters if one does not plan to participate in that culture?
Konbawa. Hello.
Language is a problem, and the willingness to go to a message board and spend your time there is another problem. A lot of specific details that I mentioned were decided from discussions within those boards over 10 years ago, maybe even 20, and I even left a lot of stuff out. A lot of pictures I used, and even discussions, were based on online image storehouses, where Nijura maids' drawings were put on alongside their names. The previously mentioned maid cemetery, for example, could refer to maids that didn't get enough attention and didn't have their own category in this image storehouse. And those websites have already closed down many years ago. And a lot of explanations I used was based on a Futaba channel wiki who hasn't updated information on any of the maids in over 4 years. I don't think you have to mind the specifics too much, especially about a website that's designed to delete old threads. A lot of jokes, a lot of details in relationships were decided on whims as the threads went by. I will admit myself that there is a lot I feel like I'm missing context on, and unless there are better archival resources that I'm not aware of.
I mean, it's all again like ultra organic, what would you call it? Very organic way to propagate the ideas, right? Just someone makes a design and then people start getting ideas, jokes, and settings on the fly,
I think I'll be missing them. Besides, at one point, it barely feels like I was looking at maids anymore. I have nothing against looking at a character, having a somewhat vague idea of the character by appearance and name alone, and falling in love with it. There are definitely Nijura maids that I came across that made me go, oh my god. You might have disliked some of the maids you've learned about, you might have loved some. I think it's fine to just focus on the ones you liked and ignore the rest. It's not like every user on the board loved every character, nor they had the duty to. Nijura was, and still are, the most popular boards on that website, with tens of thousands of people going there every day. It's not a hive mind. Now, I decided to learn about these maids because I also have seen some of them before, and I decided it was about time to learn what this was about in better detail. There were even some maids that I took a look at and thought, wait a second, I've seen her before. She was a Nijura maid? Nijura maids feel very extensive. There are hundreds of maids, tens of thousands of drawings, but they are still one single part of the culture. These maids are shown interacting with each other and their masters, but they also interact with other characters from that website. OS Ton is a good example of that, and OS Ton started before Nijura maids were a thing. In general, I don't have much interest.
I've partially heard about OS 10, like a operating system, like a Windows kind of a mascot character, but I don't have the details about it.
In what's happening now, but I am quite interested on what already exists. So at this point, I think it's more worth to learn about other characters, memes and jokes created in that environment by its users and get a better understanding of the whole picture. But I think it was very worth to learn what the maids are and how they came to be. I hope you see value in this guide. In some ways, it might have been incomplete, but I still feel like people can learn something from it, because I definitely did while making this. See ya!
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot. Again, there's quite a few that I knew, like UI and Izoi and all that, right, from Maid music. Even though, again, like, Maid music in itself, outside of using, like, the main character for like the musician, right? They use the name and the visual. Maid music is not even a genre, right? Like it's more like a group of like, I won't say Russian, but maybe more Eastern European artists with, sometimes it's like atmospheric, sometimes it's rock, metal. It's a lot of different, a lot of different style. or you're listening for English practice, can't understand it at all, I mean, ego musukashi, demo, nihongo, mecha 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 musukashi. Ganbaresh, ganbaresh. France Shushin desu. So, watashi no ego, UI. Yeah, UI. It's not the best English. Sorry. So yeah, very interesting video. And I should definitely try to find more videos about Tushan and explore more of like the culture and the history of the place. I think there's probably like a lot of interesting stuff to learn. But this was a great video. I mean, again, I love channel like this, right? It's someone who got interested in the topic and dived in, made a video. So people like me who are too lazy to really, you know, go out of my way on the World Wide Web to really find the info myself. I can just watch a video of someone who's already done the work, right? I mean, that's the point of much of YouTube, right? Someone will do the work for you and you can just watch a video to get a general idea, right? I mean, I've definitely been someone who's done that, right? Go into like wild goose chase for information. I've done that many times before, but stuff like obscure artists, VN, you know, I treat that pretty often, but I just don't end up making a video about it. Like recently, for example, like I'm a big fan of Asami Imai, the voice of Chiaya in Idolmaster, the voice of Kurisu in Steins Gate, and you know, I was trying to find like, you know, more stuff that she's done, like has she done ASMR, has she done, you know, like you know, this or that, and I was going through like a lot of different websites, you know, Japanese websites, English websites that were listing like all over the world, and different websites listing like you know, stuff about her, right? And really going into like some kind of like historical search of her online presence or something, just for like some quick, you know, satisfaction of my interest or something. In the end, I just spent a few hours doing that. It was like 2 days ago, a few hours doing that, and you know, I did find that she did like a few ASMR, for example, like she did one for like is it Konkoi or like some gacha game character that she does, you know, and I was just satisfied. I didn't even listen to the ASMR, I just found it and I was like, I listened like 5 seconds, I was like, yeah, that's Sesame Imai and that's it. Like sometimes I do go on to like long goose chase, you know, but anyone who's done it knows that it's it can be tiring, like looking for all this info, trying to find something on like old site, Wayback Machine, site in a different language that you have to translate. It's all a lot of work. So again, you know, I always love this kind of channel that do the work for me and do a recap of a topic that, you know, I'm interested in, but I don't think I would go out of my way myself to do the in-depth research like this. So yeah, again, really glad to have found this channel, KYDB. It's a great channel, great stuff, and yeah, I guess we'll be watching more of their videos. I'll end it at that for today, but we'll definitely watch more. Again, this Otaku reaction stream, we're gonna do a lot more of it, covering a lot of topics. Obviously, it'll have to be topic that I don't know, right? But, you know, clearly with stuff like this, there's a lot that I still have to learn. Again, I've never, you know, I've always been very like ultra focused, right? I mean, just watching a ton of anime and manga, and that's kind of like the ultra focus. But if you tell me about stuff like this, MMOs, online board, you know, I'm pretty out of the loop, and yet there's a lot of interesting stuff to learn about, I would say. So, good stuff. Definitely check out the channel, KYDB. Again, I'll link all the videos in the description. As soon as I end the stream, I'll do timestamps with the links. And yeah, we'll be doing this again next week. Absolutely. There's more videos I want to watch from this channel and other channels, I'm sure. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment. Ciao, Otaku. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. And I'll see you guys next time. ExoticBankai. See you.